Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my co host. First of all, Tom, you were frozen there for a moment with the most hilarious smile on your face. That was truly wonderful. Joining me, as always, my co host, Tyler. He's the official co host today. What's up, Tyler? How you doing?
To be here, man. End of the year special. I'm excited.
Absolutely. This is the end of the year spectacular. And so just the whole crew's together. So of course joining us also is Tom. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hello, friends.
Look at that,
Uh,
Tom. Team Gray. Look at us. Look at
Indeed.
us.
It's co-host Gray. That's what
It's
the bearer color label is.
it's rubbing
I
off.
guess. I guess. We're gonna be doing some end of the year Q&A tonight. There'll be chances for people in the chat to ask questions. I got a bunch of questions loaded up. What in the good night is that? Be careful there, Tom. Put your phone on silent, Tom. Stop watching TikToks. Whatever you're
No.
doing.
I was pulling up the live feed and it started the video on YouTube.
Gotcha.
We've only been doing this 8 years now or something.
Mhm.
Fine,
Mhm.
it's fine.
It's fine. I'm proud of you. All right. So, am I in a fancy bathrobe? No, I'm not. I'm wearing a vest. That's what I'm wearing. And then I've got my apron over that.
It kind of looks like a fancy bathrobe.
It's a vest. It's
Very
a very
weird.
warm vest. It's been very cold, and I'm
Mm.
cold all the time. And so my wife gave me this vest. Now I'm less cold. That's how that works. It's like magic, you see. At any rate, so let's talk about some news. Tyler, start us off.
Ah, again, for the final time, and I'm sure we'll be done with these
Mm-hmm.
rumor engines that we've had this entire year. It's a 40K thing.
It's a 40K thing.
But
Next.
new edition coming out. Is anyone surprised?
No, I mean that's just
Yeah.
it. It's gonna be the case. I would never do that, Kang. You don't have the hair for it. That's your first problem. All right. Let's talk about the other interesting thing that dropped today,
Yeah.
which was or yesterday or whatever day it was. Today, yesterday. I don't even remember now. Time is a flat circle. This video talking about what's coming next year.
Indeed, we got at least 4 models, if I remember. I think it
Mhm.
was this morning that it dropped.
Yeah.
So the first one. looked like
I have some
maybe-
extracted images here. They're not really
Yeah.
in proper order. They're kind of in the order I could scrub around and grab them easily. So I'll lead us here. This first guy, this is the Corn Hero, right?
You
Like,
mean the
that's
one
what
with
this-
the red background?
Well, they all have red backgrounds, but like the dude with the axe and
And the
some other axe and chains hanging off of him and clearly like bone pieces and stuff like that. Corn Hero.
And
That's going to
fur,
come with the
that's
Corn
fur.
book.
Yeah.
Which makes me sad because it doesn't look like it has wings when the obvious hero we should be getting with the
Volkia.
Corn book is Volkia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But sure. Let's get another foot Corn hero. Because that's what Corn needs. You know, when I look at that army, I think to myself, you know what this army is lacking? Another rando hero on foot.
See, you have way overestimated what it is. Instead, it's an alternate sculpt for the Slaughter Priest.
Yeah, sure. It's Slaughter Priest number like 5. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our first guy. Fine, cool. Slanesh hero. Got it. That's the next one. It's this one that's up on the screen right now. It's a
Yeah.
Slanesh hero. It's got the thin frame. It's got the little swoopy doop behind the back that Slanesh has favored in recent things. The sword looks Slaneshi. The little top knot looks Slaneshi. It's the Slanesh hero that'll come with the Slanesh book. Cool. Great stuff. Just show us the figures. You can just show us the figures. I remember doing this before. Why? Just show us the figures. Like, who's sharing a silhouette? Like, yeah, I saw some around, but if you just shared the actual figures, people would share them like crazy. It'd get people hyped. Just share the figure.
Yeah. Even partial figures.
Yeah.
Like in the world where we just have like 2/3 of the model or a third, right? Like we do it with rumor engines, right? Make it a digital rumor engine or like a video rumor engine. Cool.
100%. Just do something. Something interesting. Okay, cool. Slanesh Hero. Great. Glad to see it. All right. Welcome. Welcome, Slanesh Hero. Sorry, my glasses were dirty and it was really bothering me. Okay. Next. I did bring some images of like the Slaves of Darkness stuff here, just because I wanted to use it to talk about the Slaves of Darkness, guys. Look at that. What's notable about the Chaos Warriors and the Chaos Knights?
We've got images. Amazing.
Well, not only do we have images of them, yes, great, good stuff, but also what's notable about this particular batch that we can see here. Like,
I'm
we
seeing
knew
some
we were
halberds.
finally getting them,
Yeah.
but we're actually there's a banner and like a musician guy.
Yeah, and a musician, and yeah.
Yeah, you're saying multi-part kits,
Yeah.
or at least an elaborate push to fit, which includes banner.
And musician, sure, exactly. Like I'll accept it that there's just an extra arm on both. Fine. We've been waiting since December of 2019 for these things.
Has it really been that long since that start collecting?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
That's a
So, yeah.
bold move.
It's
bold move, GW.
crazy, right? Yes, the entire it's a pandemic plus weight. So there you go. But anyways, we got them now. So yep, cool, good. These are obviously the Chaos Warriors and Chaos Knights are great models. It looks like there's some slightly different sculpts in a few of these. Cool. Good stuff. Happy to see it. Thumbs up. No complaints. Okay. Seraphon guy. That's who you were going to say, right? We got multiple Seraphon guys. I know Tom, these don't register for him.
I have no I see nothing.
Tom blacked out for this 5-6 seconds of the video. But yeah, that's clearly a new Saurus-y shaped guy. Okay.
Yeah, Source Guard, Source Warriors, maybe an Old Blood that you could do.
Sure. Sure.
With a little dude on foot, the shield there.
Well, that would potentially, if it's not a hero, that would point towards somewhat of a refresh of that
Sure.
kit.
Could just be a refresh of the Saurus kit, which would be fine. Right? This could be the one. So, yeah, somebody said, I guess this confirms the Spring Tome. I agree. I think this little image does say the Spring Tome is Seraphon, as I guessed it was going to be, because as I said, I don't think they've got their head around KO yet. Like, they are, or it took them the longest, is what I'll say. Like, I think we'll either get KO as the Summer Tome, or it'll come after the Dawnbringer Crusade Cities Tome.
Yeah.
I just think it's one of the toughest nuts to crack, as far
I
as
agree.
writing a compelling 3.0 tome.
I agree.
So, and then another Seraphon guy, a big mounted Seraphon guy,
Which
on
again,
some new kind of dinosaur.
which again points towards a larger refresh than a small.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is the one we got multiples of. So there was probably a third one in here. There was another one I couldn't get the right screenshot that I really liked. It just looked like a jumbled mess. But there was another one that was in there that I couldn't quite grab the image of in any way that was like readable, because he's only on there for like less than a second.
You can unfortunately see a little skink on that one that you don't have. So a lot of people are thinking it's a Slan Starmaster update to go with the Croak update that we got.
Yeah, that's probably right. I couldn't get the
Probably.
exact picture in a place where I liked it, but yes, I think it's probably the frog/skink. Yeah, exactly.
Big O. Yeah.
I mean, what's interesting about it is we've got then that says we're getting a pretty good size refresh of Seraphon as the Spring Tome, because we've got what either is a foot hero or refresh the Source kit. We got a big monster hero guy on Big Dinosaur, and we got Slawny Slan with his little Skinker-Doo buddy, right? So
there were some rumors going around of new Kroiger. I'm on board with all these.
that's the way it's
ridiculous
pronounced.
names.
It is pronounced Kroiger. That is correct.
You've manipulated me to no end. Razor Dawn, Salamander Pack, dual kit is another one. And then, some sort Sunblood Eternity Warden model. So maybe that's what we were looking at there.
Nice.
And so we'll see.
Love it. No issue with any of this. This is all good to me. Okay. Cool.
That rumor did say March as well. So
Yeah.
followed by April, Blades of Corn, Heat Knight, and that's probably the little Slanesh here that we saw, part of the Heat Knight box.
Yep.
Heat Knight Corn box.
I mean, I think we've got a clear image now for our track for the first third of the year, right? Whatever we're going to say here. And congratulations, Seraphon. I'm not angry at all that you're not only getting a new book, but also getting a refresh of your line. I mean, they also needed it. I'm not in any way, not at all angry that they got it before Skaven. Sure, they ate my god once, but my god got better. It's okay. So, it's fine. I can see we're being visited here. You can hear it coming.
It's the year.
Hey.
It's the end of your show end. I don't know.
Yes,
I don't
the end of
understand
your
it.
show, yes.
Okay, well, the dogs had to make an appearance because they've been in the shows this year.
Sure.
I mean, they've been in more often than Tom.
That's true. That is
Probably true.
Yep.
True.
Little Tommy Lions. Anyway, Lyra, come here.
Come up here. There we go.
There's the real
Aw.
co-host.
100%.
Tyler, meet your real co-host. This is Lyra.
Love her.
I know.
Gorgeous.
I know.
Much better personality.
So much better.
Yeah, this is, we're going to replace
Way
Tom
more
with the
willing
golden
to
retriever.
please. Way more willing to please. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Hit like and subscribe.
There you go. Yes.
Hit like and subscribe.
The
Oh,
the dogs remind you, yes, hit like and subscribe as always. Absolutely. Very good.
Shake. Yes.
oh.
Big touch.
All right.
Okay. I got it. I got you. Put your feet on him.
We'll let the chaos engine leave the room here. All right. Thank you, dear.
Mhm.
All right. So yeah, good stuff. Good previews. Okay. Cool. Very good. All right. What else? What else do we got?
I mean, something happened today
Yeah.
in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been in some images with the word content creator in the background.
I woke up to 19 texts. All just going ping, 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 ping.
Yeah,
You know who you are. Thanks.
indeed. Yeah. So yeah, we're probably just going to wait until we do our actual review show.
Yep.
Somebody may have signed something at some point.
Yeah, we,
And
we as a community are going to wait until we can cover it in full.
Yeah. I mean, lots of interesting stuff. I can't wait to talk about it. I'm sure it'll be fun. Okay. So, cool. Let's move on. I look forward to a fun season ahead. All right, let's do some pick of the week. Tyler, what do you got for everybody?
Okay, well, there is a certain video that one of us will talk about here, so we'll sit on that. I was listening to a little bit of Rage of Sigmar's Christmas show with Little Marathi and the one and only Joe Pagano, talking about cheesecake and labor movement and unions, union medical, just right up my alley, all of it. You know, the experience of the Everwinter GT. Amazing conversation. Love that podcast. You may not necessarily want to have your kids listen to it, but it's a great show. So, and then Marty Orlando had a fascinating thread on Twitter a little while ago about a new army he's working on. So, as folks don't know, Marty, I'm sure everybody knows, he's Lumineth guy. Did this incredible Lumineth army recently. Always does these intricate, complex hobby projects. So he is creating his own army called Kingdoms of the Mirrored Edge. And it's going to be a complete mirror of Slaves to Darkness, mainly because he hates painting bad guys and, like slimy crap and mutation. That's not for him. So yeah, it's a really cool thread, kind of going into the details, his thinking on this project. It's going to be this homemade faction using Slaves to Darkness rules. The marks of chaos are going to be reflected by their opposite. They'll have a noble virtue. I think it's really cool. But anyway, yeah, it's just an amazing thread. Wanted to give him a shout out.
Nice. I dig it. All right. Tom, links below. Tom, what would you like to share with everybody?
It's fascinating because Martin actually shared with me a video today as well that I want to promote called The Painting Phase. I don't know if you all are aware of it or not, but it has some friendly faces, including Peachy, who's the one of the GW Army Raiders.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched that
And
yet.
on this video, they were talking about Cursed City, Necromunda, and a bunch of other stuff. And Vince, are you familiar with this video?
I watched the whole video. Yep.
You did, yeah.
Mhm.
So it's a smoking gun, folks. Like we had talked about the cursed city and the debacle that likely happened there.
Yep.
Like all the beans got spilled on the video as they were talking about what was happening behind the scenes, the PR stuff that happened as part of that, as well the fact that like all of the models that were slated, which was basically all the Virco stuff, like Belladama, all of them got rolled into Soulblight. Like that wasn't originally there. That was all part of the Cursed City game. That wasn't part of the Soulblight release. And so it's funny, like the most interesting part of all of the Soulblight release originally, that was all Cursed City stuff.
Yep.
Have to check it out.
Super fascinating expose on that situation and on that launch. So, and it just confirmed basically everything that what we had kind of suspected. Although there were some other interesting things like the Union Jack that was on the box because of printing stuff in Chinese, and there was an interesting like Brexit situation as well that was associated with it. Yeah, just a bunch of other like things that all kind of came together as a perfect storm of why Cursed City like was the debacle that it was. It was super fascinating.
Yep.
We will share that video below.
Linked down below already because I knew you were going to pick this. All has been foreseen. Down there I've got everything that was mentioned is linked down below. As well, I went ahead and linked a video from Scott and John, the boys trapped under plastic, discussing their end of year stuff and discussing VinciCon when I had them over a couple weeks back. They did their look back episode, talked about the weekends. It was a lot of fun. I also went and linked a very nice video that Miniac did about sort of me, I guess, and about his what is painting and painting like me and all this kind of stuff. And it was genuinely an extremely nice video and just something I was honored that he made. So I linked that down there as well. I want to shout out right back to him and thank him from the bottom of my heart for doing that. That's incredibly kind of him to say such nice things. He is someone I deeply respect for his work and as a content creator and a painter and everything. So it was really a wonderful surprise to wake up to on like Christmas or Christmas Eve or whatever day he released that, somewhere like that. And see that video. It's one of the best gifts I've ever been given. So there you go.
That was a lot of fun, man. Loved that video.
All links down below. A lot of people have asked me how that schedule works. It's simple. You just don't do anything else. It becomes really easy. Have no life. Have no children. It's really the magic. I tell you right now. It just gets easy. You'd be amazed how much time you actually have in your life when you don't do any of those things. Okay, so with that, gentlemen, let's talk about some hobby time. So, hobby time, Tyler. What have you been working on?
Well, I have acquired quite a bit of Nurgle from a friend to give me. I have some of my own, but so I've got a ton of Nurgle sitting in my house right now. Got a ton of paints.
Yep.
Brushes. A painting table. Got a painting light. I'm sure there's some other things I'm going to need. So
you've got all these things. You have all the things.
So it's going to be happening very soon. Oh, have a hobby night every other week, Thursday, with some friends who are going to be so kind to hold me accountable to this commitment. They're just going out of the way to think of me. So yeah, I'm ready.
This is the right answer, by the way. That is the correct answer. I literally have a video that'll be coming out next month that I'm recording and editing about that. That actually just setting up a regular time with your friends or something like that is actually a great way to stay motivated. No joke aside, look, you want to work out or you want to be healthy or you want to do whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But if you do any of that stuff with someone else, if you have a regular time you meet somebody at the gym, if you and your partner both agree to start eating healthier meals together, right? If like other humans are social animals. We respond to what other people around us do. So like getting together at your LGS, exactly, yeah, like CW said, or anything like that. Like it's just a huge motivating factor. Like I cannot I cannot stand it enough is my honest answer. So yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Okay. Very good. I love it. All right. Cool. Well, then, let's see. Tom, what have you been working on, buddy?
Well, it was obviously Christmas this week, and so I got a new airbrush.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a gift from my girlfriend, and it was delightful.
Nice.
And so I was got that out, and I've been setting up all of my area. And on Christmas Day, I decided, I'm going to crack a box of that. The mistake I made was including my kids in that process.
Sure. Well, generally having having children involved in anything I view as a mistake, but sure.
No, I understand that. But it went from me cracking one to them cheering me on as we cracked mini boxes.
Okay.
And so
So picking up subtext, this is a thing that you don't normally do.
No,
for
no.
us.
Normally, like, this isn't like I have a lot of
Okay.
stuff I just like I collect. You can see on the shelf, like I collect a bunch of sealed product, and what ends up happening is I was like, I'm gonna crack this one thing because it's Christmas and it'll be fun, this collector box. And then
Sure. It'll be fun.
then it became another collector box, and then it became 2 draft boxes. It just kept going. And so I'm in the process of like sleeving foils. So if you see me like my hands moving, I have hundreds of foils that I'm sleeving. Because I'm like trying to clean up my desk so I can start painting again because of just the profusion of magic that is covering it right now. So I'm trying to fix that. So I'm trying to get that ready because I have we have an event in a month that is going to require a bunch of board building and me finishing some models and some other stuff. So, so I need to get back to cracking on that. But yeah, so that's where my hobby's been.
Nice. For myself, go ahead, Tyler.
Are y'all moved? Y'all moved in, buddy?
Yeah, this is my new office.
Okay.
Doesn't it look great?
Yeah, he's not in the void anymore. He's got books behind him now.
Yeah.
So it actually is like dramatically different because this was the foot of my bed in my apartment, and now this is a separate office with like there's 3 bookcases here. There's 4 others throughout the room, and so it's like it is a proper office. So good.
Sweet.
Very nice. For myself, I'm working on one thing I can't share yet, but that's just over to the side. But on the good stuff for hobby thing this week, I finished up this boy, my Golden Demon project. He's got to get a base still, but the figure himself is done. And I'm just kind of thinking about how I want to do the base. I might make a video out of the base. So that's one of the reasons I waited. But yeah, so this guy came out real nice. This big, what is he again? Foamoroid Crusher. That's what his name is. I'll give him, when I say he's done, Golden Demon projects aren't ever done until you go and put him in the case. But he's done. Like I've done all my initial passes, all my initial updates. I'll put him on the base. I'll be done with him, and then I go to my standard ritual, which is in the 2 to 3 weeks before, Golden Demon. You pull each one out. You give them a good look over with like fresh eyes, and you refine everything one more time. That's the.
Do you get the goggles out? Like the goggles,
sure.
and you like look at all the lines. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Sexy gogs are right there, my friend. They're right off screen because I was already doing some of it to work on some of them initially. Yeah, like some of the elements needed that initially. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yes, indeed, Cygnus, you're exactly right. But it's been a pretty good hobby time. Got a lot done over this last week, so feeling good about it. All right. Well, with that, gentlemen, are you ready to start the Q&A? You ready to answer some questions? Okay. So here's the deal, folks watching live right now. If you've got some questions for the team here, anything you want to ask us, okay? You can start drip feeding those into chat. And
Dude,
I'm going to
man.
be using the questions over here that I collected from last week's show to start and the Patreon, and then popping in the other ones as we go. We're going to move fast. This is going to be a high QPM. So, no, all three of us are known for being
Long-winded.
Thank you. Exactly. And so we're going to handle this however we go. All right. So we give quick, brief answers. We'll go around the horn. If you don't have anything you want to answer for that question, you don't have to answer anything. Okay. Just be like, nah, or pass, or whatever. Like, just don't say anything. Cool. Here we go. First question. Puppeteer said, Modern Times Warhammer. Vince seems to want that model range. I don't want Modern Times. I hate Modern Times stuff. I do like mixing fantasy, punk, steampunk, wacky elements into it. Like you just mentioned magic cards, like Neon Dynasty is one of my favorite sets of all time. But like weird sci-fi elements in my fantasy are fun. What do you guys think? Any desire for any Modern Times thing?
No.
Yep.
Just could you give the context? Modern Times Warhammer.
That's it. That's the question. Literally, that's the question. I'm giving you the full question text.
Modern Times Warhammer. Okay. No.
Like, do you want
at
to
least
see
mine.
orcs in current tanks or stuff?
Okay. I was, yeah, I forget that's
You
what
mean drones and no.
Nah. I mean, we've got a little bit of, I mean, some of us play 40k armies and AOS, I hear. So that's, it is around, but no, I think I'm good.
Cool. All right, we'll do one from the chat. Alex said, how do you guys deal with 40k players who really bash AOS hard without really understanding it or know much about it? They usually gripe on the double turn lore, and what are your thoughts on 40k? I can answer that simple. One, I ignore them. Like, I don't care what they think. It's fine. I'm not, like, it's a great game. It's wonderful. I'll tell them it's fun. If they want to play it, I'll play a game with them. Otherwise, I ignore them. Who cares? I don't have time for haters. You shouldn't either. Two, what are my thoughts on 40k? It is a mechanical mess. I don't like the lore very much, but they do have some genuinely gorgeous models in that range. And so I paint a lot of 40k, and that's kind of where it ends, because I love a lot of 40k models.
I take a different approach. In general, I don't directly argue, but whenever I'm in a conversation like that, what I do is I ask questions. Generally, questions will do a lot more, will help individuals realize they're wrong a lot more quickly than making statements. And so oftentimes I'll ask, like, oh, well, what's the percentage win of the highest army in 40k right now? And begin to ask questions like that to show them the disparities of, like, hey, how's that Eldar, those Dark Eldar doing? Sure. And just help to have them respond and get on the defensive. And then I'll be like, well, actually with AOS, we have a pretty tight range right now. We have a healthy meta and yada, yada, yada. And so rather than like attacking anything, I'll ask questions and then I'll just provide what AOS is. And, and then sometimes if they're really adamant about it, I'll just say, well, maybe it's not a game for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but I mean, that's one of the pastimes of the niche of a niche hobby that we're in, is that a lot of AOS players will have an uninformed view of 40k and vice versa, and round we go. So yeah, I mean, I generally agree with you, Vince. Like, just whatever, move on. I do find it, I mean, the consistency I find fascinating in that there's a YouTube, I don't want to do a shout out because they're getting more interested and engaged in AOS. They probably wouldn't care anyway. But, like early on, they were pretty down on AOS and a lot of their views were rough. They've gotten better, but just the way that they talk about it, the way they think about it, they generally view it very casually, I think. Don't really have a competitive lens on it, at least haven't cultivated a competitive lens. But it's just interesting seeing how a lot of 40k players think about AOS and then vice versa.
Sure.
I tend to find that we just tend to lack information. A lot of people who are doing, like, if you're steeped in AOS, you tend to lack information about 40k to have well-informed opinions, and then vice versa. Yeah,
sure.
That's what I tend to find.
Good answer. Too long of an answer, but good answer. All right.
Fair enough.
Brandon S. Question for the New Year's show. If the army you're passionate about is a bad army, what tips do you have to help your play experience so you don't get bummed out since you're likely going to lose a lot of games? Sure. Number one, have a good, like, turn 0 or game 0 conversation with your friends and tell them not to bring strong armies. Be like, look, I'm playing some crap here. Can you maybe bring a weak army or play a fun army or some version of the thing like that that's weaker? That's a good way to go. That way you're on even footing. And or 2, take it as a personal challenge to like figure out how to work and twist and scrape every ounce of efficiency and playability and skill and tactics and execution you can get out of your army and then be really proud when you do pull out the victory because you earned it.
So, and if you're going to events and you're taking an army like that, my advice simply would be to set expectations and goals appropriately. And so if I'm taking a subpar army, I'm aiming for a 3 and 2. I'm going to be happy with a 3 and 2 if I get all my tactic, for example. And so you just need to set the appropriate goals for what you're taking.
Yep. All right.
What's the framing of the question again? Just so I get.
You're playing a bad army. How do you not be mad about it? Sad about it?
Yeah. You guys said it. Yeah. I think in general, I've found it's hard for most people to get comfortable with losing a lot.
Sure.
Just kind of an obvious statement, but most of us need to get better at dealing with losing, especially when we're new at the game.
At the risk of it talking too long, I will share a very quick story about Magic, not Warhammer, but it's relevant. When I first started playing Magic back in the mid-90s, the person I played was one of the better Magic players in the country. It was my regular play group. And I would play 40, 50 games of Magic a day with this guy. And if I won one game, it was a miracle. So I would spend all day losing over and over and over and over again, every day, weeks and weeks on end. Okay? Like, I lost thousands and thousands of games over the course of those first few months. Yeah. And it was the best experience I could ever have because it taught me how to be a better player, how to both take loss and how to be better. So, losing can be good. Okay, anyways, next question. Dan, what fantasy race would you add to diversify destruction? Bug people. Tom.
Elementals.
Good answer. Tyler.
I like those. I'm not sure. I'll think about it.
Okay, you think about it. I like elementals. Yeah. I want to replace my answer with your answer, Tom. Yours is better. Okay.
Elementals really good. Yeah.
Caleb,
returning everything to its natural state.
Yeah, absolutely. No, perfect. You're dead on. Caleb, have you ever repainted an army after deciding you can do a better job? Not a specific army, but I've painted newer versions of the same army. Like I have 3 Stormcast armies. So, sure.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I would never repaint the same figs. Tyler, you probably don't have a thought on this one. You're still on army number 1. But like, I would never repaint the same army ever. I would just get new figs and do something else. Like, just get a new army. Don't repaint the same thing. Like, leave them as those are an important milestone in your journey. Okay.
When was your second Stormcast army? I know the first and the third.
Somewhere in the middle there. I don't know.
Oh, I don't remember you doing the third. Okay.
Well, he did a Bretonian army, and then he did
the rats,
and then you did a normie one.
Okay. I mean, I guess just like there was errant Stormcast paint jobs in the middle there. I guess like
normal
gotcha. For somebody. Okay, so Oscar Lars. My question for the next episode would be for each of you to invent another faction for AOS that doesn't already exist. Who are they? Which Grand Alliance? It's a big question, but I'm going to make it short. God. Okay, so we have to pick a new faction, seed it in a Grand Alliance. All right, well, Tom, you already gave your answer a second ago, so that's fine. You can use that.
Elementals and destruction, returning everything to what the planes were done.
Absolutely. I'm going construct Frankensteinian weird universal horror monsters of various types.
See later this month.
Indeed. In death, who are not loyal to Nagash. That's my answer. Because they're created via like science magic.
Yeah.
You guys are better on the spot with stuff like this than I am. I'll have to think about this one too. Yeah.
It's okay. You think about it. Yeah. Okay. Ben had a quick question, which was, where would you go to source copious amounts of warpstone for an army conversion? I'll answer this one quickly, Ben. The answer is your local garden center, where they have small bits of like crushed glass for fairy gardens. little tiny pieces of crushed glass, and you buy those, and then you paint them green. Job's a good one. There you go. Okay. Kevin asked, what was the one hobby item you purchased this year that you wish you would have gotten earlier? I have an easy answer for that one. I think it was this year. Let's say it was this year. It's close enough. And it's this guy. It's my little WoW stick drill pen.
I hate you.
Ha!
You're so
Gotcha.
And no, you purchased that last year because I bought mine this year.
Okay, well, that's fine. I thought I purchased it this year. Okay, I'll give a different answer than if that's yours, Tom, which was I upgraded a couple new airbrushes, like specifically the Harder and Steenbeck Infinities, and I really like this new Kiev because I love how light body it is. So there you go. That's my other answer.
And that's one that I've gotten, and I still need to bust out.
There
So
you go.
that'll be my answer if I wait till next week to
Sure.
open it. It will be my answer for next year.
Got it. Tyler,
got
is your answer a paintbrush?
Yeah, pretty much. Some paints. Yeah. I think my answer would be I would love to see a reinterpretation. Yeah, it pains me to say this. I think Darren and Owen's projects extraordinary with Nomad Feastmasters, but I would be curious to see like what the studio would do for halflings and AOS.
Nice.
Something kind of pulling from some of the original bones of halflings. I think would be interesting.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Is Warcry a good way to edge into AOS? From Patrick. Yeah, sure.
No.
It's completely different rules, but if it gets them on the board of like liking the armies and the lore and playing miniature games, then yeah, it's a perfectly fine gateway game.
It uses the same models. That's it.
Sure.
I am not a fan of Warcry. I wanted to love it, and I couldn't get into it. And so I'm critical.
Tyler, any opinion on this one?
If I may, what's the 5 seconds on why, Tom?
I just don't like the flow of the game and the like. It's not AOS, and it's not like from a rule standpoint, and it's and the 5-turn like conceit of the entire framework is something that in a miniature skirmish game like that, I want something that's a little bit more expansive that can breathe a little bit, like Mordheim used to, the pacing.
Okay.
And Warcry is not that.
Well, I've never played either Mordheim or Warcry, so I don't have an opinion.
Easy enough. Let's keep moving. Camp K, question for the Q&A. Advice from the group on dealing with perfectionism at the painting table. I'm not a good painter, and with no immediate gaming group, my only exposure to completed miniatures in the painting process is from online forums, army showcases, hobby videos. Sure, understand that this is an easy thing to say and a hard thing to do. Understand that you're on your own journey and set your goals accordingly. You're not trying to be anyone else. I mean, I know it sounds stupid and obvious, but it sometimes is. Like, comparison is the thief of joy. If you want to be really sad and depressed your entire life, keep comparing yourself to everybody and everything around you. Humans were not made or evolved or have brains that are made to handle comparison on a large scale. We're made to compare ourselves to like the 8 people we know. Right? That's it. And so, like, you have to understand that you will always get better, and the only thing you should compare yourself to is your past self. You will always get better if you keep working, if you keep doing deliberate practice. Use those other things you see out there as inspiration, as guideposts, and respect that what they have and what they've done is put thousands and thousands and thousands of hours into their craft to get to that place. And someday, if you put in the same time, if that's a goal you set for yourself, you could be in the same place. There's no innate talent in miniature painting. There just isn't. It's all work. Innate talent is bupkis. No one has it.
It's learned craft.
It's a learned craft. Yep. Some people can have better eyes for color. Some people can be more creative, but in the end, it's a learned craft. All right. AVS. Question for next week. If you had to pick one, which 40k army would you want to see replicated for the AOS world? So if we were going to sort of like either directly import or homage it out, who should come in from 40k into AOS? We have to. Gun to our head. We can't answer none. Okay? Well, I already said bugs, so I'll just say bugs again. Do a better, like, do a not ugly Tyranids and make bug people. But, like, you can just actually do those sculpts that aren't all hideously ugly.
Admech. something that's emergence of mechanical tech and
Yeah, do that with like some steampunk golems and stuff. That'd be rock and roll, baby.
or maybe make it death
Sure.
and merge it with corpses.
Love it. Absolutely. Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that interesting, but well, maybe not. I would love to see an Adeptus Sororitas equivalent in AOS. Just another
Yeah, like
Sisters
Or-
religious
oriented
fanatic
faction,
type of,
religious.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
if you will, a Sisters of Sigmar.
That's
Mhm.
Sisters of Sigmar, exactly. Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll get a little bit of that, hopefully, in Dawnbringer Crusades.
Bring it
And-
back. Bring M back.
Yeah.
Okay. With you. Great answers. All right. Let's see. Okay. Cygnus, if you had to name your hobby painting style in a catchy way, e.g. slap chop, what would you call it? I have no idea. I need to think about that one. But my answer is going to be, for now, my catchy answer. What was the other? Would be? I'll pick Sham Wow. That was the other product Vince hawked. So there you go. Got him.
Mine would be the Drip Tickle.
Sure. There you go. Good answer. Tyler.
I have one. TBD.
TBD. You got to develop your
TBD.
style. Okay.
TBD.
I don't think you'll have an answer for this one, Tyler, but we'll answer it anyways.
Okay.
KK, what are your favorite RPGs? I mean, a lot of them. It's a massive list. D&D would be at the top, but like there's a ton of RPGs Tom and I have played over the years. I'm doing a Rifts marathon in 2 days, so I don't know. I guess there's another answer for you.
D&D and Riffs for me.
Yeah, but like, love Mech Warrior and played Vampire a bunch and like Soulbound a lot and a whole bunch of other things. A lot of different games. Okay.
No, Trigger. That's an RPG game. It's
There
a
you
video
go.
game.
Hey,
It's an
that
RPG
counts.
game.
It's a great video RPG. It's a great video RPG. All right. Wolf says, I've always been curious. The models you don't display but paint, how do you store them all? I display everything I paint. They all have room in these cabinets. Everything. Like, I do not have cabinets. I don't have... Yeah, everything's in cabinets. There you go.
So mine is a recent development. Instead of cabinets, I have everything now in like clear bins, stackable bins. And so they all have like metal sheets on the bottom, and all of my models are magnetized to them. And I just have shelving upon shelving of bins of models. And then a handful of them I'll bring out and display on bookshelves and stuff like that. But in general, I keep mine magnetized in bins. In a dedicated.
Cool.
Nice. Tyler, any thoughts on
No.
this? You storing anything anywhere?
Not
Okay.
not really. Terrain. But, yeah.
Okay. Other than normal things like working out, what do you do outside of the hobby to keep busy? I spend time with my wife and watch movies. I play Magic and I play role-playing games. There you go. That's what I do. Tom. You have kids. That's the singular answer beyond
Well,
what I
I
said.
mean, I have kids, and then I have professional stuff. I have
Sure.
a job, but
Right.
then my professional stuff is like in that sense, I'm a creative, like I'm an academic, and so like that stuff just absorbs as much time as I'm willing to give it from a writing research standpoint.
Yep.
That's not my job, so.
Cool. Tyler?
Yeah, spending a lot of time being an uncle with 6-year-olds and with family. Doing a lot of reading, watching movies, nothing too out of the ordinary, and spending a lot of time on my background coordination gig that I've been doing for 15 years on various cool projects.
There you go.
So, yeah.
John Alias says, is Skaven that bad of a first army to play? Not counting painting. Yes.
Yes.
Easy
Yep.
answer. It is not a good first army. Sorry.
It struggles in some of the fundamentals.
It doesn't
it-
mean you can't do it and have fun. It just means, yes, it is that hard.
Cygnus asked if there's no musical hobbies, just to bounce off out of the question. Not me.
Nope. None of us
No?
are musicians, no, in any way.
Ish, yeah. I would have learned the guitar growing up. I still could, but yeah, a lot harder now at this age.
Nope.
Wake Phillips, any plans to dabble in some old world coverage or reviews when that time comes? Sure, we'll look at it. I mean, I probably won't care about it much because it's a rank and flank game, but we'll talk about it.
Of course, it's Warhammer. Like
Yeah.
we'll mention.
It's a fantasy related Warhammer project, so sure.
On that note, have you guys ever looked at the one-page rules project with the various
Yeah, sure.
systems that they have?
Yeah, like
There.
it's the way I would play 40K or whatever if I was
Okay.
interested. Yes,
I've been meaning to look at that stuff. Yeah.
it's good. They do good work.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Oh my God. Where Neil, I'm gonna shrink this down because he said, "What is your favorite battle plan and least favorite through all 3 editions?" Like that is too hard to remember exactly.
Oh,
what
that's
was
easy.
when.
Easy. All right. Here's my
We're just
time
gonna
to
say
shine.
what's our favorite and least favorite battle plan. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler, start. You got it.
I mean, it's probably got to be Border War because it's the quintessential 2016 OG of Age of Sigmar.
Okay.
Least favorite. Oh Lord. Relocation Orb. There's probably
Yeah.
worse ones than Relocation Orb, but
Tom, is that your answer as well for least favorite
Uh,
relocation order?
Least favorite relocation orb. It cost me Adepticon, and First Blood is my favorite.
okay.
Like just simple, straightforward. one.
Simple. Now that was the OG, basically. First Blood. Oh, First Blood. No. I'm thinking of the very first. I think they had the very first battle plan. I think that they ever did. I think was called First Blood. And then of course they did. What was it? 2020, whenever it was. But yeah, I know the one you're talking about now.
So my answer is going to be a good old fashioned Battle for the Pass. I mean, it's just a great classic scenario. And for the worst one, the answer is going to be anything that shuts off teleporting.
Huh.
Uh,
Well, interestingly enough, Vince, some information from today that may be
Yeah.
relevant in that regard. So I'm gonna know which way I'm gonna put you down for.
Yeah,
on this.
there we go. Okay. How would you, Jose says, how would you introduce players to the painting side of the hobby? The same way we did with Tyler. We work on them and work on them and work on them. We use some mix of shame and
Yeah.
inspiration
Guilt.
and guilt and kindness
and
giving them
incentive.
free stuff like paints and figures and sending them tutorials until eventually they crack like an egg and get into it.
Talk
and find
a
way
lot
that works.
about your 12-year-olds, your 10-year-olds painting more things than your 40-somethings. Yeah.
I
That
have
works
a
really well.
6-year-old, it's not on my desk anymore. I have models painted by a 6-year-old last week,
Excellent.
There you go.
Yeah.
and you know what? They look pretty good.
But yeah, I mean, just like inspire them and show them how easy it is, like through something like Slapshot or that kind of a method. That's really the short answer. Is to be like, because people won't do it because they think they don't have any artistic talent. That's always the thing. Oh, I'm no good. I can't paint things. You don't need any. I'm going to show you how to do it. Again, it's a technical process, and once you demystify, that's the real answer. They'll get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. War Slammer. Like Magic or chess, when I play any game, I play competitively, and I'm a tryhard. You're a spike. I get it. I ruined playing with my friends. Am I doomed to just play fun lists to keep them on the hook? Well, there's 2 options there. If you're playing with your friends, then yes, you should be playing weaker lists, and that should be the challenge you set for yourself, to win and play very competitively with an extremely weak list. Like, there's no real skill in list building in AOS anymore because you can just net list out tournament winning lists very quickly and easily. So, like, congratulations, you also looked on the internet. So what you should be challenging yourself to do is play with what you know are objectively weaker pieces and still pulling out the W's. Right? That's how a true spike shows their skill. The second option is find other people who are really good at the game and have them kick your teeth in. And that will very quickly, kind of place you, and then you'll be back in a place where you're striving to improve.
Yeah, and you'll learn all the tricks of the trade on the other side of the table.
Yep.
Like you'll watch the fastest way to learn something is to lose to it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
definitely.
if you lose to a technique or a tactic, you're going to remember how to do that.
Totally agreed.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. Well said.
Good stuff. Sean, our good buddy Sean Sayer. When did you start playing Warhammer? What has been your favorite edition and why? Sure, I'll give you an easy answer. I started playing Warhammer in 1997. My favorite edition of all Warhammer fantasy-related games is the current one. is 3rd edition of Age of Sigmar. I think it is the best version of this we've ever had. If you want to restrict me to just a fantasy answer, 6th edition post Ravening Hordes was the best, and then but I'd also take late 5th pretty quickly and easily. But yeah, AOS. Tom.
I had exposure through Mordheim in 97, 98. But I was poor, so I couldn't buy armies. And so I didn't actually get in until 2013-ish, 2013, 2014, at the end of 8th, and then into AOS.
Okay.
What edition was the High Elves versus Orcs and Goblins with the card? Was that second, third, maybe third, 1992, 93, 94, somewhere around there?
High Elves versus Orcs and Goblins was 4th edition.
Goblins particularly. 4th edition. Okay. Yeah, that was my first edition. So whenever that was. I think it was somewhere around that 92, 94 range. And then I took the usual 20-year break that a lot of us take. I got back into 2015. Probably this edition. I mean, it has been fascinating this year. We've talked a lot about the growth and complexity of the system, right? Mm-hmm. And that we've lost quite a few people, and yet the game is and the community is still going strong. Hopefully, we'll be getting some of them back in the coming year through various ways. We'll see. But yeah, this edition.
Cool. Right on. Okay. Let's see. Should GHB seasons, this is from Jason, should GHB seasons change the meta temporarily for variety versus just adjust the larger ongoing game? I think they should be once a year. They shouldn't be twice a year. And they should be a pretty new season that changes the game and it can play around with significant elements of the game. As long as they're a full year long, they can be a pretty heavy change. That's my answer.
I agree with that, although I don't like it being a super heavy change. Like, I think that the GV situation of this last year, like, I'm glad we didn't have to play through that for an entire year. I probably would have not played in the second half of the year if that's the case.
Yes. So I generally agree with what you said, Vince. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. The last 6 months feels like the roughest that we've gone through, and we've gone some rough periods.
Yeah.
But it felt from day one in my first game and few games with bounty hunters and all of that. This is not the Age of Sigmar that we know. It just felt way too different, and that never went away.
Sure. All right.
So, yeah.
John Chaves, here's the question. Let's say we change the rule to roll for priority. Only happens between turn 2 and 3 and between turn 4 and 5. But you never hear a complaint about it ever again. Like, this is a magical genie wish being answered here. Mm-hmm. All right. Would we make that change? Like, would we only do it between those turns where you roll for priority or something, and then you'd never hear it ever again? Would we do that? No, because it would ruin the game. The heart of the game is in the double turn. I don't care about the complaints. Again, who cares? If you don't like it, don't play the game. Like, cool beans. Great. It's fine if you don't like that. You're allowed to not like game elements. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying, okay, that's cool. Mm-hmm. So I want to keep the game good and tactical and skill testing, which is all things that turn does. That priority roll does. And then I don't care if people don't like it. There's a lot of games out there, man.
Yeah, generally agree. I'm personally more amenable to potential changes to determining round 1 priority. I could see an adjustment to that, right? I mean, you could easily imagine if, Vince, you outdrop me, you get a +1 to your roll. That's it. That's your benefit.
Sure, you're talking about the turn 1 thing. Yeah.
The turn 1. Yeah, in terms of drops and impact on drops. That's one I could see some potential tweaking to, but yeah, other than that.
Yeah, I mean, it would really, I think the incentives that you would create if you were to do that, it would change everything. It would change how everybody sets up, because everybody would end up setting up conservative.
The world.
It would be a big change. Yeah.
Changing. Yeah.
It maybe too. Yeah. I mean, like I said, that's a whole discussion. Yeah, in terms of the details
Absolutely.
of that, and whether that's a good idea, bad idea, but yeah.
Okay. Question mostly for Tyler. As a fellow Kabbalist S2D fan, what endless quest do you favor bringing along?
Okay, well, I've been excited to see the UK spikes are catching up to the Soul Screen Bridge. So shout out to Phil and Toby and all those guys. 20, 2x10 chosen. I'm being snarky. I don't do snark very well. I just feel bad about trying to do snark. It's not my personality. So Soul Screen Bridge is amazing in Cabalist and S2D. It addresses some of the mobility issues. And you can stack buffs like +1 a charge from the banner, +1 a charge from Slaanesh banner on 10 chosen, come in, 7 reroll. You should deliver that most of the time. So yeah, that one is amazing. What else? I think Jaws and Shards of Valagar. It's a pretty good combo, right? Have movement, run over them with Jaws, 36 relative to their move characteristic. I'm gonna do some work with that. Haven't tried out the what's it called? The not the Realm Scourge Rupture. You could also do Realm Scourge Rupture with Jaws as well. Darkfire Demon Rift. Haven't tried that out enough. It's fairly expensive, but there might be some play there, particularly if you have 2 other endless spells in your list. Because for each endless spell in your list, you get an additional mortal wound that you do with Rupture or with Darkfire Demon Rift. So yeah, there's all kinds of the spells that are interesting with Cabalist.
Good
It's
answer.
the best faction.
Just that easy. Alejandro Ramirez, do you ever repaint old milestone models, like first models or first fully painted army? Not the model itself, but I've painted, I've gone back to a model, I got a new version of it, and then painted it again many times, just to, compare where I'm at now directly to what I did before. But I always leave the old one intact. So I have, 4 versions of the thing.
How many High Queen Kalidas have you painted?
4, I think, over time. But yeah, exactly. That's a great example. But there are others. Yeah. Okay. Will Beastmen get more than the Beast Lord for new models? No.
No.
All right, next. Mr. Lee Mech Shop, would you like an AOS Ancient style game? No. I don't know what that no. I get everything I want in AOS.
Means.
Yes. I'd be interested in something like that.
What's that mean, Tom? AOS Ancient style?
So it would be something set functionally in the mythic lore of the pre-dawn.
Well, that's just it. Is it a mythic period where you've got gods going crazy in that kind of a time? Okay, that's one read of it. Or is it an Ancients game like Warhammer Ancients, where it takes all of the fantasy stuff and turns it down to 0?
No, I'm less interested in that.
Which is how I read the question.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I like high-tech stuff, in case that's not obvious. I think it's fun to have high magic and high crazy and gods everywhere and things like that. So, I mean, if we're just talking about epic Greek myth Warhammer, where it's you're summoning gods left and right and things are wild and you're doing the 12 tasks of Hercules, sure, that's fine. But I think you can do that in normal AOS. I don't think you need a separate game for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would be interesting to see them explore more the Age of Myth setting, but how much different? I don't know. Maybe that could be quite different from what we've got, but we already have so much within this comic. We kind of got the Pantheon already. We've got lots of gods that are out there. So yeah, but the Age of Myth.
You're telling me that a Horus Heresy release a style of Volcatrix and Grimnir, these huge icon models, where some armies are getting the equivalent of, these huge, not only just god models, but large scale, ridiculous things on the table. Sounds great to me.
Sure.
Best smaller than full AOS game to introduce someone to the hobby: Warcry, Underworlds, Cursed City, Reign in Hell, anything else? Well, first of all, I've heard that Reign in Hell game is pretty fun. I would definitely vote for that. It is legitimately a fun gateway game, and it is a pretty small commitment as far as models go, and it is a very different set of mechanics. But yeah, I think it's a perfectly fine gateway game. Honestly, a lot of small independent skirmish games like that, depending on what you're interested in, like Space Weirdos if you're interested in sci-fi or something like that, or Frostgrave if you're interested in fantasy, or something like Reign in Hell. I do think those are great gateway games. Yeah, 100%. I mean, Uncle Adam over on Tabletop Minions, he talks about gateway games all the time. And I think simple skirmish games like that are the way to get them in.
My vote is Silver Tower. Because the conceit of Silver Tower is super simple. There's not a lot of complex mechanics. It's still using the roll above mechanic for attacking. There's no wounding, obviously, but it's just an auto hit, roll above number hit, or whatever. But it on top of that, it's cooperative.
Yep.
And so if you're trying to get people into it, the easiest way to ruin somebody's day is to play competitively. And so doing something cooperatively can get them into that kind of world and mindset, and then be like, "Oh, this is neat. I want to be the army with those bubblegum monsters. Cool, you can do that."
Right.
Like, and there's painting involved, so it's all the elements of the hobby in a board game, a cooperative board game.
Nice.
Yeah, very cool. Good answers.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Should we get a Sigmar model? No. I think he should stay above the fray. Like, he's too much. Just for the same reason you shouldn't get a Chaos God model. If like the second he hits the table, he's not actually the equivalent of the Chaos Gods, and that's what he needs to be in the lore. Okay. Will you be doing
Plus Allison Prime. He's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Allison
Will
Prime.
you be doing more episodes based on polls? Oh, yes, very much so. We're going to be doing some very fun poll-related survey stuff in 2023. Tuck in for that. There's a lot of things I want to know about once the season switches over. Yes, indeed. Get ready. Get ready for everybody to be answering lots of survey questions. Thales, we mentioned the Painting Phase podcast with Peachy earlier. So we'll go from there. So we talked about that. Do you think Destruction and Death will get their 5th factions eventually? Yeah, sure. On a long enough timeline, yes. Like, will they get another army? Is what he means in there.
Sure. Let's pray that it's elementals and techno zombies.
Sure. Absolutely. Like on a long enough timeline, yes. They've sprinkled too much inspiration around the lore for these other things for it not to happen. Okay. Tyler, question for you. How many Wildwoods is too many Wildwoods in a Sylvaneth army?
Oh gosh, 3 years ago I would have been a great person to ask this. I haven't played them enough. I would guess, okay, so 2 boxes. I would hope would have most people covered, right? That's a total of 6. Mm-hmm. You can generally get by in the half dozen games that I played with putting out 1 usually. You put out your 3 with your pre-deploy, right? Often you put out your 3, and then you put out 3 individual ones. And there you go. Probably more competitive players would say 3 boxes. If you want to go to tournament and be covered, that should be enough. It's still probably a little too high, the count. It's better than ever.
Dietrich asked this of me, but I think it's a question we could all answer. What's your favorite current game mechanic, and is there any one you'd want to get rid of forever? So I'll answer my favorite current game mechanic. Eye of the Gods from S2D. I love it. I think it's a very fun mechanic. It's fluffy, it's flavorful, it's cool, it's rewarding, it's interesting, it has build around, but you don't have to build into if you don't want to. It's great. It's everything you want in a rule. Worst mechanic is anything in the Heed Knights of Slaanesh book. Tom or Tyler?
How many thoughts?
I think the Nurgle Rot is my favorite mechanic.
Sure. Oh, it's a strong answer.
The disease.
The
diseased. Yeah. Amazing mechanic. Yeah.
Nurgle disease is great. Feels good. Feels lore appropriate. Again, for the same reason. Not overtly powerful, but certainly strong. Right. Feels like you're playing a Nurgle army. Yeah, totally.
Doing everything it should. And what I hate the most is Bounty Hunter. Because we're not in the new GHB yet.
Sure. Controversial answer. I'm going to go with battle tactics.
You hate battle tactics?
I like battle tactics a lot. There's room for improvement on the execution of battle tactics, but having the core system incorporate secondaries, I think has been a net positive for the game on a number of fronts. The execution could be better. But yeah, least favorite, man, it's hard to not answer Bounty Hunters. It was really terrible.
Sure.
As we probably
I'm just assuming that's already going away, so I don't have to yeet it into the sun. So there we go.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Faust says, if you could add 1 new unit to your favorite army, what would it be? What would your 1 new unit be? Okay. Tyler, go.
Good. I mean, I had a wish list on Sylvaneth, and they hit about 3/4 of it. So let me think about that. Let me think about it.
Tom?
It's clear. Power armor-ish KO Terminators.
Yep. Easy answer. Slam dunkaroonie right there. Yep.
All right. Some equivalent of badass angelic Lumineth on the Tyrannic side, which I would hope that we're going to get. I mean, obviously, I'm picturing
Bring
what's his name?
on the angel
Tyrael.
elves.
Tyrael from Diablo and that whole court. Like that's what I want to make that army feel whole.
Cool. My answer will be for Skaven, and it will be anything that shows what Scryer is capable of with thousands of years of additional research and technology. Thousands. The difference of time period between all of the tech we have to put in the game right now, okay, like when that technology was invented, and the current time in Age of Sigmar is longer in the real world than when they constructed the pyramids. Okay?
Well, so what you're not taking into account, Vince, is that they live in a pocket dimension in the warp, and so time doesn't pass the same
There you
for
go.
those Skaven as it does in the mortal realms.
Totally fair.
And so for them, it's only been a century or so.
Sure. Still far too long. Again, a century ago, Tom, we invented cars.
Weird.
Whereas just recently we cracked nuclear fusion. So, I feel like there's some room there.
Potato,
Sure. Okay. All right. Question from an AOS painter learning to 3D print. How big is too big for AOS terrain pieces? Joke answer, bigger than 6x4. Real answer, because then you just print the board. Real answer is, sure, terrain pieces can get too big. I'll go to each of you guys. What's too big in your mind? In my mind, I like a big terrain piece, but if it's too big, it'd just be, you're instantly making it impassable. That's what it should be. It should either be garrisonable or impassable.
I disagree. So here's I don't think there is too big. Okay. And here's the difference is that the question is it's a difference between being too big and being navigable, right?
Sure.
So it can be huge, but as long as there's easy pathways,
yeah,
there's points of movement. I don't care how large it is, right?
Fair. Yep.
It's when it's huge, like it's like a bucket in the middle of the table. That's when I have a problem.
Yep.
When I can't do anything with it, and I have to spend an additional 22 inches to get to the other side of it. That's when I have a problem.
Fair. All right.
Get on Printable Scenery and go through some of their terrain sets and look for some of the biggest pieces. And some of the biggest pieces are probably too big, I would say. So I could be wrong on this, but I think I overheard Dave or Anthony comment on NashCon this year that they did feel maybe some of those tables did have some pieces. Yeah, that were a little too big. So
yeah, I may have been chewing their ear about saying these are little, like as Night Haunt, totally cool.
Sure.
With this being here, but everybody else probably doesn't like it.
Sure.
With terrain, I mean, there's a few rules of thumb. Have at least a couple of line of sight blocking pieces, have a few sort of mid-sized pieces, and then have some smaller pieces, maybe a couple of scatter. But obviously, we would play generally with 8 pieces. There's various approaches. One common one that I love that Gareth has been promoting on the West Coast that's been catching on is pick 2 to be garrisonable, pick 2 to be impassable, pick 2 to be obscuring / wildwoods for line of sight blocking. I think that works really well. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right, let's keep going. Okay, next up. Next question. Jesse. So here we go. Jesse says, the biggest question that I have is something that comes up in the episode. This is from last week. What would an AOS version of Mordheim look like? Tom, you want to take this one?
Yeah, we designed that, and it looks shockingly like the what was the game that they made that they ripped our Mordheim off of? Path of
Shots
Glory.
fired.
No,
Okay.
what I would say is that I think that it, like we did a version right after AOS launch, and that first month, Vince and I, in
For
4
that.
weeks, we
Oh.
put out an AOS version of Mordheim. And you know what? I would say I think it was pretty damn good, and I think it helped. Like I think we could port it into 3rd edition, and I think it would hold up. That said, it's a lot of work. We're not going to do that. But I think that there's gas in that engine. Some version it is a modified version of basically Path to Glory, of
Sure.
what has now become Path to Glory, is what I would say.
Okay, easy enough. All right. Anon this is anonymous. It didn't have a name. Question for the Q&A. Would you consider doing a show focused on non-mainline AOS in 2023, like, covering Underworlds or the Soulbound RPG or the other ancillary games? Yeah, of course. Absolutely. We have done so in the past. We will do so again. So, easy answer. Nicholas, any thoughts on Old World? Is it happening next year? What faction are you planning on playing? No, it's not happening next year. I would guess 2024 at the earliest, just given their schedule. And none would be the answer, because I'm probably not interested in the game, but I leave myself open. If things are cool and the game is cool, then sure, whatever. I'll see what they all look like. Anything from you guys?
They confirmed it's 28 millimeter or around
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah. High elves were both of us. Our high elves were our first love. So I'm definitely gonna be curious to see what high elves look like.
Yeah, it'll be nice for Tom, because they'll do a bunch of new high elf sculpts, and then he'll just use those as Lumineth.
Exactly.
Right in time for the Tyrion faction. No, probably Tomb Kings. I would love to see them do Tomb King, and I have to imagine that those are high up on the list. Or otherwise, what's it, Majobbers, Polar Bear Riders, Kislev. I can
Sure.
do Kislev.
Yeah,
Because
Kislev's cool.
Everybody loves a nice effect.
Sure. All right. Wary, do you think Marauders and Cultists should be their own cast faction, separate from Ironclad Warriors and Knights that focus on a Norse theme? No. I don't think it's an interesting enough army to just have barbarian dudes. I don't think there's any there. It's they're interesting when they're part of the larger tableau of chaos. That could be because chaos is a ladder, right? And they are.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
And
so,
they represent the lowest rung. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
Yeah, they need to be better implemented than they are right now.
Sure.
I would say. Yeah, the implementation was one of the weaker sides of that book, particularly on the Dark Oath front. Yeah, they left some things to be desired there, I think.
Yeah, there wasn't as much power pairing in interesting ways where that could be an expressed virtue. Now, if you ask me, should that be a way you can express the book and build out to just do that stuff within S2D in a fun and rewarding way? Yeah, 100% I'm on the board with that, because I think that's perfectly valid. There should be more of a way to lean into that. Okay. Just no, they don't need to have their own book and army and stuff. Okay. Vince and Company, have you looked at any other war games of interest? Any particulars? If yes, I mean, all the ones that we've made as part of Snarling Badger Studios, between writing games and then playing AOS and everything else, I don't have a lot of time to go play other games. But sure, I mean, I played Malifaux a bunch for a long time and liked it just fine. It's a good game. I love the mechanic. I love the cards, all that kind of stuff. So, either of you guys?
You got anything? Yeah.
Rain it out.
There you go.
Yeah, one of my goals for the next couple of years is try out other games. I want to try out the Game of Thrones game, Song Ice and Fire, I think is what it's called. There's just so many games that I want to get a broader palette of game design and how these various games work.
I've played a Song of Fire and Warcraft ice fighting crows, whatever it's called. I played that game, and Miniac was nice enough to take me through a game last time I was there visiting him, and it's a very good implementation of a rank and flank war game. It's a well designed, well executed rank and flank war game that I found just to be the epitome of boring because of my personal tastes. Sure. Not at all because of the quality of the game. They actually had a lot of really creative and interesting things going on. So if that's your jam, it was great. Right? It's just not my jam. That's where it's personal taste versus the quality of a product. Like, it's a quality product,
Right.
it's just not a quality product for me.
Because at the end of the day, I would argue that AOS largely plays like a skirmish game
Yeah.
on a large.
Totally.
Like AOS is a skirmish game on a large table.
Yep. Saith asks, if you could only own one army in AOS, what would it be? You get one and only one army.
Boring Stormcast Eternals.
Okay.
Biggest range. It's still, I mean, it gets crapped on a lot. It's phenomenal how it plays. If you enjoy Johnny combined arms, mixed arms, do a little bit of everything, Jack of all trades, master of none. It's an amazing army that you could play forever, I think.
Tom?
Slave of Darkness.
Skaven. Like, I love Skaven and I love Slaanesh, but I've played Skaven originally. They were the first army I chose, and I stand behind it. And you can build lists with Skaven all day and into the sunset, and they've stick with me for 25 years now, so I'm not leaving them anytime soon.
Well, for me, Slaves of Darkness, the reality is that it's 4 armies in one.
Yeah.
Like, you could basically redo the same army multiple times with different focuses and different paint jobs and all that, and there's just enough variance across the entire line that I could spend forever there in that space. And
Exactly.
functionally, my first army was that. My first real army was a Nurgle Slaves of Darkness.
I'm hoping, Tom, that we do see a decent amount of how do we want to qualify it? A better amount of variety than I fear we may see in the coming year with that book. Even though I think we were all very high on that book. It's probably my favorite Battletome of the year. Might be all of our favorite Battletome of the year. But I'm a little worried that there may not be as much variety as meets the eye in that book when it comes down to it, at least in terms of competitive play.
Well, and that's fine. But the reality is the range is large enough and strong enough that you could.
That over time there will be.
Yeah, totally.
There will be
100%. That's true.
So, because the reality is that like I'm never going to choose KO because they've never proven themselves to be like that book. I dread each iteration. The next iteration, somebody asked like, "What's my hopes for it?" New units and basically new design philosophy for the army. Like that's what my hopes are for KO. For the reality is Slaves of Darkness, something will weather the storm.
Yeah,
definitely.
There's always something. Okay, cool, good stuff. All right, next up, I'll answer this one quickly. Konstantinos, friend of the show. What's up, buddy? More of a hobby question for myself. Here goes. If you could put 3 pieces of any miniature painter in a museum, any museum, which 1 to 3 pieces would you choose, and why would you choose them? Sure, I'll answer this simply. Last Light or whatever by Roman Lapat. That one's an easy one. It's super classic in the hobby. It's an incredible piece. It's an all-timer. It is like the definition of amazing, because even though the individual models, when you zoom in, are not like incredibly painted, it is telling a story on a grand scale that's rarely been replicated. So that's an easy one. 2, there is a beautiful piece that I don't know its name by Matt DiPietro of an armored Crusader Knight that is just like so wonderful and fantastic by me, by my estimation, that is to say, of where one side of it is done in a very historical way, like very painted realistically, and then you flip it around. The knight is on a palette, like on a painter's palette. And as you swing around, he has raw paint, and the other side is very painterly and colorful and expressed and like all this kind of crazy stuff. And I love it so much. I think it's just such a beautiful exploration of like art and what miniature painting is, all on one really genius, glorious, beautiful piece that I just think is absolutely fantastic. And then the 3rd would be a very big diorama done by Sam Lenz some years back with a girl from Kingdom Death fighting a bunch of like Nurgle-esque demons. I just think it's one of the biggest, most impressive pieces. It has this incredible background. He took casts of his own teeth to make teeth for the board. Like it's just great on every level. I love everything he did with it. I just think it's like inspirational in every way, shape, and form. So those would be my
honorable mention for me would be Pisarski's Nagash.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
With
Manfred.
Yeah. That piece has a name. I do not remember what it is, but yes, it is also like absolutely honorable mention right there. That's
like
great.
the throne of Nagash. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Alan Wesley, question, why no real mixed demons faction? anymore. With the Legion of the First Prince DOA and allies aren't most useful, why isn't there a combined demons army like there is in 40k? My answer is because the game is because of balance. Like, everybody wanted balance. This is what you get. Everybody says, oh, but balance is better for everyone. No, it's not always. Sometimes you run into mutually exclusive choices. And having cross-functional choices like that simply will create an extremely swingy, high-variance environment. Because every time a new book's printed, for any of those armies you can draw those demons from, you could swing the army way out of character because of now the combinations it allows. Like, the regression, the testing it adds to keep things in balance becomes way too high. The more every book lives only in its own ecosystem, the more balanced the game is.
It's the reason why we don't have a gold faction,
right?
Like, from a game design standpoint.
Yep.
Yeah, there's there's ways to do it, but it would be a lot of work, and yes, the updating on it would be a lot. But God, I would love to have it, especially for Sean Sayer, because that man put in work. He is committed, and I know he misses it. He misses it dearly. Yeah. I mean, I love the idea of it, but everything you guys said is right. There's just a lot of challenges to do it right.
Yep. Okay. So, Tyler, I'm gonna throw this one to you. I think you should take this one. Top 3 tips for going from a 3-2 record to a 4-1.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, that's the foot off the gas sweet spot right there. Bringing another pad list. So top 3, I'm filibustering. Top 3 tips. Number 1, you really need to know your army incredibly well. You need to get extensive reps in. I mean, unless you're phenomenal at the game and you can play a few games and you just know everything in and out. But yeah, you have to know what you're doing. You have to know your matchups. And at least enough, like, I think, Bench, you're a good reference point on this. You don't study the battle tomes all the time. You're not looking at tournament lists all the time, but you have a good modeling in your head about what everything does, like a sufficient modeling, right? You're an 80-20 guy. So you need to be at least 80. So so that's one. Do you guys, Tom, you got one?
Yeah, you need to know what every other battle tome does. Like, yes, 80-20, sure. The reality is that G.I. Joe is right. In the sense that knowledge is important, but they were wrong, and knowing is half the battle. No, knowing is 90% of the battle. Knowing what you're staring at when you set up your board, like set down your models. If you can look across and know what the capabilities are, what the movement ranges of what you're facing are, it makes the game eminently more doable, right? If you don't know what their faction does, if you don't know their tricks, if you don't know their items, then you're dead in the water. You're literally playing blind. And so if you want to go from a 3-2 to a 4-1, know what all your enemies do.
Sure. And my final tip, we'll go around the horn for this. That'll be fun. Mine will be more reps. That is, say, just get actual play experience with your army more. Put in more reps and play more different armies. Because you're going to learn things as you actually hit the table. Like, play more battle plans, play with more different terrain, play against more different armies, play against more different people. Vary all of those things, and you will, you will naturally skill up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to do everything you can to minimize surprises.
Yep.
And kind of related to that is developing a sense of risk assessment. And kind of I mean, there's we could prattle on forever. There's so many things. We did an entire show.
Yeah.
You should be able to look at a unit and know about the average damage that unit's probably going to put out against their matchup, like whatever they're lined up against, so that when you know who needs to hit what, who needs to activate first, how those fights need. When you look across, you need to have a general idea of what that's going to look like. Now, of course, you can always get caught out, right, by statistical outliers, and that's the difference between the 5-0 and the 4-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, right on. All right, Robert Fanelson, do you think AOS would be better off with D8s or larger dice types? I think it doesn't matter if it would have statistical mathematical benefits, which I do. I like bigger dice types for various and sundry reasons. It doesn't matter if Warhammer is a game that uses D6s. Like sometimes ephemera matters, and like people would not accept the game suddenly having a bunch of different weird dice.
Yeah, this is a sacred cow of the game.
Yep. Yep. So like it doesn't actually matter if it's better for us. It's a sacred cow, and so we can't kill it. There it is.
Last thought on that last one. Check out Miscast podcast. I mean, we did a good show, I think, called Get Good. Check that out if you haven't yet. But those guys have been killing it this year, I think, with their episodes. You know, just going through different topics, giving incredible advice, Darren, Owen and company, and be confident when you're playing Warhammer. Like that was something that I had to get better at on the table. I told Vince my moment where I changed and actually it impacted was my loss against Sean Clark,
Sure.
NashCon in 2019. I lost that game because I was playing Sean Clark, not because of what he was doing.
Right. Yep. Okay. Favorite things to listen to while painting? Just YouTube. Sometimes I'll have music on, but mostly it's just videos, like listening to other people's videos about painting, or battle reports, or magic stuff, or whatever. People talking about D&D, or any of the hobbies that I engage with, or things like that. Cool. I just saw Tram's comment, and that's right. That should be Chop Fasta. Tom is definitely your paint style name, to return back to that for a little while back. That's a classic right there. All right. Over here, going back. Lakey, my question for the Q&A would be, if you guys could pick up any out-of-print model unit for any faction and change them up a little bit to fit current AOS army and bring them back in, what are you picking? So anything that's been legended or retired or whatever, who's coming back? Okay? I will start. The obvious answer. This is shout out to you, Tristan. You knew this was coming, and it's the only answer, and that is Cetra, the Undying King, the King of Kings, the Great Hawk, the Golden Hawk, Lord of Kemri, and all of the deserts that he surveys. Like, obviously, Cetra should come back. He shouldn't even come back with an army. Just bring him back as like a Gotrek style character that can be taken by various and sundry death factions, and that'd be great.
He's still cleaving his way through the realms,
Yeah.
through that times, like he was just chopping his way through the world. Yep. I agree. Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Vlad and Isabella, they were two of my favorite characters. I mean, I know. I mean, they actually had incredible, spoilers. Something happened to them.
They had incredible endings. I would never want to see Vlad come back because his ending was so beautiful and so perfect.
It was. I know. That's the problem with that. Yeah.
Like, give me 20 more years and I'll be ready. Okay? Like,
Sure.
It's like a Bucky situation. I was always against in the 90s. I was against, like, they had rumored bringing Bucky back, right? And I hated the concept of it. But then enough time passed, and into the 2000s, we got the Winter Soldier, and I was like, oh, actually, this is amazing, right? I loved the way that they actually did then bring him back. So, like, you can do it. You just gotta give it enough time to where I think it's impossible, and then you can do it.
Sure. One for Domus, Orion. Just Orion. Thank you very much. Nothing else.
Tynomite, do you think the AOS 6-month seasons is an issue? Yes. Like 100% yes, I think it's an issue. And he said, what if you get a dud rule set, it's going away faster. That's true. But like it should be a year. Done. For a million reasons we've talked about on this show.
There's a lot more nuances and details to that as we've gotten into, but yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Okay. Ryan has a question specifically for Tom. How can you hate the idea of Aztec space lizards riding dinosaurs?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Good answer.
Skinks.
Okay.
Just skinks. That number 1 and number 2 and number 3.
I see nothing.
Sure.
In good Westworld fashion.
All right. Peppo Comfy. Here's the question. We're going to give it. He wanted to know, are we all, like, what is our Spike, Johnny, Timmy identification? Okay. And then, what's the one thing you wish someone had told you earlier in the hobby? Okay.
Good. That's a great question.
Sure. So, I am 75 Timmy, 25 Spike. That is me.
I'm a 60-40 Johnny Spike.
Okay.
My good days, I'm about a 60-40 Johnny Spike.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm a little more Spike than I realized as we had a show of self-discovery
Sure.
with Mephisto one time. Yeah.
It's a journey of discovery we're all on. What's the one thing you wish someone had told you earlier in the hobby? Tyler, is it you can paint? You can do this?
Yeah, that's a good one. You know, I still remember my first game against Andrea at Adepticon when there was only like 30 of us. You know, Brad, Andrea, and company, Alex and his wife, organizing it. You should leave your hits and pick up your misses.
There you go.
I spent an entire game not doing that because I had no idea. Anyway, I just always think about that. Yeah.
Good etiquette. Yeah. For me, it was that expect for your models to be obsolescent. Like I didn't realize just like I was under an assumption that was not, because I looked at the history of Warhammer over 20 years, right? And they were using, like, some armies were still using models from the 90s and stuff like that when I jumped in 2014. And so I was just like, oh, so like there's continuity here. So when you do $1,000 investment into an army, I can expect to use it for the next 20 years. And the reality is like that I came in right before AOS, and that was not a true statement.
Sure.
And so, yeah, that was painful.
No, that's fair.
It's a great question. I love that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, mine would have been, what is something I wish somebody told me earlier? How to like actually shoot and edit my videos properly. How about that? That's what I wish somebody told me earlier. Okay. Ryan, what are some good models techniques to use to help transition from contrast paints? I did try acrylics once before, but YouTube tutorials didn't click and it was very disheartening. The answer is just going back to good old-fashioned layering, Ryan. Like, that's the being able to control your paint consistency is the great challenge of miniature painting. Being able to say, this is how thick or how thin I want it, and to be able to apply that paint onto the model in a reasonable way. That's it. That's the shooting match right there. You get that down, you're in a good place. So like any model can do it. It doesn't really matter. But you know, good old-fashioned Space Marines or Stormcast are great bases for that. But that's really it.
Yeah, I mean, like to add on to that, like my go-to is going to be like, hey, go buy some of GW's old glaze paints, but I don't think they have those.
They don't. No.
Yeah, like learning how to thin to a glaze, right? Like that's the other half of this is learn, you know, and this is functionally what Vince said in less eloquent. But it's learning how to or even learning like a triad system, which is another version of this, which is base coat, wash, and then a highlight up on the edges.
Nice. Okay. Patrick asks, if you could travel back to 2015 and re-release AOS for the first time, what is the one thing you would have done differently? Points would be the easy answer. That's just a slam dunk, like actually launched with points so people can build armies. Like had a general's handbook from the launch, from the rip, and had command abilities as part of the game from a more concise, understandable way. What else?
I would have launched everybody with a book at the start.
There you go. Sure.
And like in what books functionally eventually became. So
yeah, I was gonna say, Tom, start with 2016 Sylvaneth.
Right,
Yeah,
like actually had real books, yes.
Was the first real book.
From a mechanic standpoint, but also from like a lore world standpoint. Like we didn't even know what these things were because the original War Scrolls were on like white PDF.
Right.
Like it was like text formatted on a white background. And so like there was not even a sense of like what these armies were and what their place was in the world. And so like even if they were releasing each book as a 30-page PDF that has like lore, army cohesive identity, and then War Scroll. Like that would have been
solid.
Yeah. be worrying about. Be careful what you wish for, because we ended up in a great place thanks to
We
the
did.
absolute chaos of the launch.
Sometimes you got to go through sometimes you gotta go through chaos to come out the other side. All right.
It started as a bunch of tadpoles, and eventually we got frogs.
Yeah.
But it was a messy process there in the middle.
Now we're like beautiful butterflies. All right. Cygnus Maximus. Speaking of my son Vince, can you tell Graham that it's cool to wear an apron while painting? Yes, it is super cool to wear an apron while painting. Because apparently, Graham, what I hear from you, this question that Cygnus asked, is you're getting paint all over your clothes. See, that's not cool, man. Making your mom and dad or whatever do the laundry. Someday you're going to be old and you're going to have to do laundry, and that's going to really be terrible. And when you tell young people this, they never believe you. They never think that the future is anything to worry about. It's far off in the future. So here's what I'm going to say, Graham. If you want to be cool, you wear an apron. If you want to be not cool, then you don't. It's that easy, buddy. All the cool people wear aprons. Maniac in his recent video, wearing an apron. He's a pretty cool dude. Like... Or when I had Sam Lenz and John and everybody over, we were all wearing aprons. You know why? Because we're cool dudes. So, I mean, if you want to be like the coolest miniature painters around, you can wear an apron. If you don't, if you want to be some loser, don't. That's your choice in life. There you go. Be who you want to be.
Probably have a sign on your door that says
Or a loser.
apron required to
Absolutely.
enter.
Okay. Sidinesco. SDY Nesco. What are the 3 armies for AOS you would suggest for learning the game as a new player?
Obviously, Iron Jaws is one.
Yep. Easy.
Let's
Ogres.
see. Ogres, yeah, I was thinking probably monster trucks, ogres.
Yep.
That's a really good one. Let's pick one that we don't. What's one we wouldn't normally pick? Because we always go ogres, Iron Jaws.
Well, the destruction faction in general, other than Gits, is a good place to start. Maybe that'll be different soon. But sure, I have an answer for you. Okay. Nurgle.
Nurgle's not bad.
It's not that big. It's not that complicated. It does some stuff, but it's within the bounds. It's an easy army to paint. It's a fun army to collect. Nurgle.
I like that. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
It's still an extraordinary battle tome. Yeah, and you could throw a dart at that battle tome and it's going to be playable. So.
Yep.
More or less.
All right. Let's see. Oh, we scrolled. Now I lost where I was. Oh no. Okay. While I scroll, here we go. Christopher said, "What was the most formative learning experience that you've had during your hobby journey, game or painting?" I'll let you guys do that while I scroll the questions back to where I be. Tyler, what was your formative learning experience moment? And then Tom, you go ahead after him.
Like I said, I really do, at least the story that I tell myself, that game, you and I talked a lot about it on that car ride every year. We've talked on the phone for the most part from NashCon. And I just, having that experience of looking for the 4-0 to go play for the win in the final game, and then losing it because I lost it in my head, that was a very important, useful experience going forward that has meant the world in my performance since then. So yeah, that one really stands out. You have to, there's no Michael Jordans of Age of Sigmar. Apparently there's no Michael Jordans even necessarily painting. Like, I was very surprised to hear you say that you think it's more, just
there's
based
no
on
Michael Jordans
skill.
of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was an incredibly talented basketball player until he got to college and where he was coasting on his talent and then got cut from the team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay.
You know about
and then he
it.
went
You know about
he went and worked his ass off.
Right.
And he became the GOAT. Right? Like, he had a bit of a head start, no doubt, with his talent. But like, he would not have been the greatest of all time without working
100%.
so hard.
Watch The Last Dance to see that. Yeah, on Netflix. Absolutely. Yeah, that you can beat anybody at this game. And now it's going to be hard to beat Gavin, top AOS player in the country. I know who that guy is now, thanks to this year. But
Sure.
But you can get there.
Tom?
In
Tom,
2019,
there you go. Okay, you're back. Keep going.
sorry,
It was
2019 I had a similar experience at the end of Adepticon. where I just realized that like I was no longer playing like I didn't have anything to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of epiphany was a real big like it really like it changed the game for me.
Okay. For me,
Also,
oh, go ahead.
sorry.
Yeah. No, please.
I didn't quite. How so?
Just because it freed me up from like the go like events were always super stressful for me.
Yeah, like you gotta go 5-0.
I'd have to go 5-0 or
Yeah.
4-1, and it just freed me up to be like, no, it's okay to lose occasionally, especially to scenarios, like that weekend I went second in the 1,000 point, third in the 1,000 point. I think it was second and third because there was 2 half-day 1,000 point events. We tied for I believe we tied for third place or tied for fourth place in the teams event on Friday, and then I was playing for the championship on that Saturday, Sunday, and it was my 13th game of AOS in 4 days.
Sure.
And suddenly I just realized that I just got to a point where I was like, I don't have anything to I don't need to stress myself. I can take bad armies and not have to worry about proving a record or anything like that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Nice. For me, the very first miniature painting competition I went to was Crystal Brush, and I lost. But I got into the final cut, but then lost, and it was great. It was great to lose because it lit a unbelievable fire in me to try harder and push harder and all that kind of stuff. So there you go. Cygnus says these people, they love random swinginess of the random priority but hate relocation orb. Hey, I don't hate relocation orb. That's these guys. I loved relocation orb. I thought it was fun.
The reality is with swingy priority, it's a 1-0, right? So you have two variations of 2 possibilities.
Whereas relocation orb was 100, it could move all over the board. I got it.
The mathematical difference is significant. Yep. Where one is testing in a general's ability to predict and plan for both possibilities each turn. The other is roll a dice and see what happens.
Sure. Yanalius Smith, what army was the most fun to paint? My son's, because it's painting 4 individual big dudes. So easy money right there. It was a lot of fun just because you get to paint 4 big character monsters. Tom?
I think my Nurgle army was my most fun to paint, just because it was the first time I really did a full army, and so I got to see the army come together, and as well I had some fun weird techniques that actually it really paid off, and so it was the first time that I actually got to see everything kind of come together on the table and got to see that cohesion across models, and I just fell in love with painting those models for what they were.
Nice. Glad somebody had some fun with your Nurgle army, Tom. Well, the rest of us
did not. Yeah, exactly.
I had fun with my Nurgle army in every state.
Sure.
Okay. Pierce asks he says, I know you don't like lore, Vince. I don't hate lore, I just don't care. There's a difference. I don't muster any emotion for it, okay? But if you had to pick a faction's lore who you like the most, who is it? Skaven. I mean, it's awesome. Second place is easily Slaanesh. It's the army I plays. Because I don't care about the specifics of the thing. That's I don't care about the specifics of the lore. This person was here doing this thing at this time. Who gives a hoot? All right? But the general feel, the theme, the vibe, the story, at a broad macro scale, that I love. And it's those 2 armies. Tom?
You say it. Don't you steal mine. You're going to steal mine. I know it.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Cheetah Courts.
Cheetah Courts? Yeah, sure.
Cheetah Courts. It's the best lore in the game.
Slam dunk. Tom?
I like KO. I just do. I like the Sky Pirate dwarves who decided to just peace out at the end of the Age of Chaos, or at the beginning of the Age of Chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Because at the end of the day, let me just jump in. At the end of the day, the current core like nugget of what they were is what allowed me to reimagine long drawn slayers as
Sure.
like as you know, so like it's their actual fluff that gave rise to like the conceptual, whole environment.
Tom, question for you from Sebastian. Did you test your mixed arms Lumineth, and how did it go? And where does your deep hatred for Seraphon come from?
Did I test my mixed arms? Yeah, I played it a couple times. I don't hate it. It's what everybody else is playing now. And so it's not interesting to me. Like this is what it means to be a 60, 70, 30 or 40 Johnny Spike. Is that like it's interesting to me until suddenly I realize that that's all of what Lumineth is playing. And then it's not interesting to me anymore. Because I don't want to play mainstream. Like that's not what I'm interested in. I want to edge shoot. I want to find the things that other people aren't doing. And when suddenly it's the main and the plane, I'm not interested in doing that thing anymore. I don't understand the second part of that question. Go ahead, Ben.
Fair enough. Okay, question for myself. Along your path as a painter and artist, this is from Jan. What were the big stages you went through, and what were the remarkable aha moments that you remember even today? I mean, the standard same as everybody else will go through, or has gone through, or whatever, or is going through, which is like learning, thinking you're pretty good at a thing, then realizing you're not, and then realizing how much more you have to learn, and then climbing up. It's just the standard. Everybody has the standard learning curve on any skill like that, and it looks like that. It's the overconfident to down into the trough of despair, and then the slow, gradual, linear move up. That's exactly what it is. And I continue along my linear journey today, aware of how many steps lie ahead of me, a near infinite number. So there you go. The aha moments. I mean, the first time I cracked, how to really use an airbrush or oil paints or any new thing, or nailed some effect, right? Like, sort of like lighting effects and things like that. There's individuals, but any time where I felt like I had a good breakthrough on something, I think those were it. And it was all just like deliberate practice. I'm going to do this thing and suck at it, and I failed enough times until I got it to somewhere where I did it okay, and that was it. Just I tried things and failed lots of times until eventually I got okay at it. Okay. Which faction this is from Jeff, which faction that already has a 3.0 book needs a new book? Stormcast, Cruel Boys. Anybody else want to throw in this mix?
Yes.
Is that it? I mean, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are definitely would start with those. I mean, you could say War Clans. Well, I mean, obviously War Clans except Iron Jaws.
Sure.
I do think Bone Splitters was a miss. Benjamin Sava was appropriately upset in the show we did with him. Yeah, those are probably the main ones. You guys were pretty down on Fire Slayers. You were more down on Fire Slayers than I was.
No, that could be another.
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I don't play that faction.
Yeah, like we'll see. I mean, it's going to be exciting in the new world of the new GHB. I mean, what I'll say is there's just a lot of limitations of that book, especially just baked into what the army is.
Yeah, a lot of your complaints seem to come down to the fact that it's a small model range.
Yeah,
they're not. I know we have Iron Jaws as counterexample.
All of them are movement 4.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, they're Iron Jaws, but without the variability of Iron Jaws, smaller model range. So that's a real issue. No, I get that. But anyway.
Nope. I think those are the 3 good picks. Coms Somolets. I'm take a swing at that. Interesting question here. What's your favorite useless model? As in a model that doesn't help your army, but you keep trying to find a way to use it, or you like it, you know what I mean? Or you like it's something about it makes you want to keep putting it in the army, even though you know it's not going to do anything.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay. I got a couple. Mutalith Vortex Beast, that's an easy one. The Doom Wheel, that's another one. Tyler, what do you got?
I mean, I think most competitive Stormcast players would say Celestin Prime. He's amazing as an ally, but almost nobody runs him in actual Stormcast list, and I refuse to not run him, and have managed to get some good results with him. But yeah, it's probably him.
Nice. Tom?
Love that question.
That's a great question. Because yeah, we all have our useless pets, right? Like that's just yes.
Banshees.
Yeah, Mirrorborn Banshees are your answer, yes. Because you keep going to the plate for them every time. You're like, no, this is the time. They're really good now. And I'm like, nope, they still suck, Tom. And I've been right every time.
Points just dropped again.
Okay.
It'll be different this time. It'll be different.
Yes. Red Wizard, we kind of already tackled that. To bring back one more character from fantasy. Who would it be? So we talked about that one. How powerful or useful should neutral units' endless spells be? So like incarnates and endless spells and stuff like that. How powerful should they be? My answer is not very. But like useful in strategies, they should be built more to be linearly useful in particular strategies more than they are built to be generically powerful. So like if you happen to be running this strat, then you take this thing, and it gets. And it draws its value that pushes it worth its cost, like over and above what its worth is, out of the fact that you have a synergistic plan for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Interesting. How many thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, by the way, lots of games do this. This is like, it's not a crazy thing. Like, this is a thing in Magic. This is a thing in D&D. This is a thing in tons of other games. Like, it's just... things will be contextually useful, and that's the answer.
I find it intriguing the double. I'm filibustering with not answering it. The intriguing the year of the Incarnate. Our first year of the Incarnate. We're probably about to enter another at least 6 months of the Incarnate with the next model. I'm sure we're going to get where the double-edged sword nature of it, right? Where it did appear to meaningfully bring up the bottom, and it was also used at the top in some instances. Zinch, Daughters of Cain, etc. So, I mean, I like one, I don't like the other. How do you get the good, not the bad? Maybe that's the way, what you're talking about there. I'm trying to contextualize that a little bit more. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I never heard you express that before in terms of that. Yeah, but generally it needs to be less powerful. I think it'll have a less powerful footprint than it did this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
a less impactful footprint than it did this year.
Let's give an easy example here, right? Okay. Let's take something that's generally kind of trash right now. We'll do this quick. Like the Gravestorm, whatever it's called. What is that thing called? The dumb Earth one that goes forward and it's real big, right? That does like 1 mortal wound or something. What's that dumb?
The dumb Earth one. Gravetide? Suffocating Gravetide?
Suffocating Gravetide. Thank you. I couldn't think of the name. Okay, so let's take Suffocating Gravetide, for example, right? Suffocating Gravetide would be cool if it was written to be like, it goes forward some pretty decent number of inches, right? And the unit it hits, like, it then reduces their movement down some for charges, okay? And like when they roll a charge, they roll twice and take the lowest, or subtract 2, or I don't know, we can pick some mechanic, right? I'm not trying to spit out the perfect mechanic, right? And as long as they're within 6 inches of it, if you charge them, okay, then their bravery gets reduced, or they suffer some extra penalties from battle shock, or they can't use inspiring, or something like that, right? So it's like playing into a strat, like stopping them from charging and you're going. That's a pretty broad strat, right? But it's for a specific army. You could get more specific. You could have things like, this is good if you're shooting at the target with a unit that's within 12 inches of the endless spell, then some bonus, right? So now, okay, it bonuses close range shooters, right? Or if you have a flying model nearby, right? Then you get benefits like if you're attacking that model and you're flying and they're not, then this bonus, something like that, right? So it again, like, don't get hung up on the specific ones I'm saying, but contextually that's what's happening.
The key is that they need to be designed for strategies rather than just what it does splash mortal wounds.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
So, okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, like, one of them could just be does a bunch of mortal wounds at a decent range, and that's fine. Like, that is also part of a strat, right?
Sure.
Like, it's okay. Caleb, have we addressed whether boxers or briefs provide the leg up at top tables? It's obviously boxers. Easily. But I will also accept boxer briefs. Okay. All right. Let's see. Next question. All right. W. Soren. So it had said, as a game designer, what would you add to Age of Sigmar to improve the lots of melee foot assassins and non-hero monsters? I think we can all answer this one. We don't need to be game designers. So we're trying to improve regular melee foot heroes and non-hero monsters. Well, I mean, I think for the first one, we're testing some of that right now in the upcoming current season based on the previews we've seen. Okay, in the released previews. Non-hero monsters, I mean, my short answer to both of those is they should do a lot more damage. Often, like, they're just not worth it damage wise in most cases.
There's two problems with melee heroes: delivery mechanism, punch.
Sure,
right? You're talking about damage, but they also need
one of those two.
They also need to be able to get to the target, and
or
so
not. Or they could be complete damage nightmares and have to walk across the battlefield, but that still can be useful.
Sure. Like Go Track was like that, right? And so it needs there needs to be a linear, right, line of delivery versus damage, and that needs to be on a design spectrum. That is the balancing act, right, of like how mobile and how easy do they get to their targets to assassinate, and how much damage do they do.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well said. Yeah.
And right now, most of them just can't get to their targets no matter how much damage they do, either way.
Yeah, and even the top end of the damage dealers leaves a fair amount to be desired in my. I mean, like an Org Mega Boss, 8 attacks, 3/3s, -1, 2 damage. Okay, you've got some ways you can buff that, right? You can call the Wa, you could go Destroyer. I mean, he's good. It's just he's the exception. He's not the rule.
Right. Like Alpha is another good one. But the problem is you're just priced out when you look at the rest of the army.
Yeah. So. All right, Brian asks, for each of you, if you could change one core mechanic feature of AOS, no matter how dramatic or subtle, or likely or unlikely GW would ever contemplate it, what would it be? What's the one change you would make? I would create a starter battle pack and I would move battle tactics to be only part of the competitive battle pack. Got him. Take that, Tom. Because I just think they're a huge hurdle right now. It's that easy.
Yeah. A core mechanic that would change. I'm not sure.
I mean, I would jettison battle tactics into the sun.
Sure.
And I
think they're too useful to too many players. It's just
I think I would jettison them straight into the sun, and I would create every scenario with secondary objectives baked in.
Sure.
That's what I would do. So that decisions for secondary objectives are based on, or like the battle tactic type thing is baked into the scenario rather than this generic thing that everybody does every game.
Sure.
Okay, well, hard disagree, but it's okay to be wrong, Tom. We're gonna have to do a show together. Oh, we are gonna do a show together. We'll talk about battle tactics. We still haven't had that in-depth battle tactics discussion.
Yeah.
Release virus. So I think the whole pile-in we've talked a lot about. The whole pile-in system still leaves a lot to be desired. And now things may be improving or may not be. We'll find out soon. But I really liked the Monza battle that they did with Gallivets. That was one of the highlights of the last 6 months. So in terms of, half inch.
Okay.
A lot easier. So, yeah.
Very good. Canceled Logic asked, are there any painting techniques you're still trying to master, or have you collected them all by this point? Canceled Logic, let me land shit on a secret. I'm still trying to master all of them, no matter how basic. There is no such thing. There is no painting technique I consider myself a master of. 0. That is the nature of the journey. There is no point where you hit max level in this game. It does not occur. you will always be hoping to refine your capabilities and techniques. Okay. All right, let's see. Next question. Emily, friend of the channel, Emily, who's awesome, said, for Warhammer Weekly, Tom is known for Let Me Be Clear and Hello Friends. Vince is, if it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and the iconic Sure. Tyler, what is your catchphrase?
That's the thing. I'm not catchphrase oriented, which, unfortunately, well, that is to be determined. TBD. If anything, actually, TBD is my catchphrase of the year.
I think that's probably true.
I
Yeah.
took so much. I am such a TBD personality. You know, meetings. Now let's give us some time to get that meeting scheduled. We don't need to have that meeting right now. You want some details on this Vault Wars pack? You know, it's going to be a TBD on it. So yeah, no, that's probably it. So
Okay.
we'll see if anything comes to light.
All right. Let's see. Tom, you and I can answer this one quickly. Neo Space says non-Warhammer question in Magic. What's your favorite color combo commander? Like what color set are you for your favorite commanders?
Grixis.
I'm gonna give the same answer. Yeah, it's absolutely Grixis. Yeah, 100%, which is red, blue, black for everybody.
And what's the elevator pitch on what that means?
It tends to provide an interesting collection. By the way, my answers would be either Grixis or mono white. Okay, those are my two answers. Grixis is red is a bunch of randomness and destruction and interesting sort of sacrifice effects and that kind of thing. Blue is control and card draw and other wacky things like that. And black is death and kill. So it's just it's a lot of kill control, basically. I have a different psychographic profile in Magic than I do in Warhammer, to some degree.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are you in Magic?
As a Johnny Spike, for me, it lets me lean into as a Johnny because of all the control and all the neat combos and stuff like that. It lets me do a lot of that. So.
Okay. So while it's in my head right now, I'm just going to go and mention this. A show that we need to consider doing the new year is doing the legwork. Maybe we get some help with this. Of going through every battle tome in White Dwarf, dividing the battle tactics into easy, medium, and unlikely, or sort of likely, maybe unlikely.
Legal out and invent it anyways.
Well, that's going to be an increasingly relevant discussion, maybe in this new season. But anyway, I think that would be very helpful to go through that landscape analysis of where are we, in fact, with the battle tactics.
Yep.
With 2 being the sweet spot, right? If you can get 2 in that likely category, that might set you up well for the future. Okay.
Cool. Cody asked, do you think we'll ever get an Order versus Order new edition release box? Yeah, 100%. Yes. Yes, we will. They'll do it at some point. Yeah. If we got Bretonnians versus Lizardmen at some point in the past, believe it, it can happen. Sure.
I usually see a Lumineth versus Stormcast.
Or a Malarian thing or whatever.
Malarian and Tyrion, yeah.
Malarian versus, Stormcast. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Wake Phillips, do you think that we'll see some supplements that allow us to build AOS armies with some old world stuff? I mean, we'll do it. People will do it regardless of whether they have rules for it. I don't know if they'll support it at all in the rules, but I don't think it'll matter much. We'll do it anyways.
Right.
So.
I mean, I have elements of 40k stuff and mixed into my AOS stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, my Necromancer I just built is a 40k model base.
Which one?
You'll have to see.
Fair enough.
It might be. I may be trying to win the conversion model.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll see.
All right. Let's see. Next question. What are your expectations? Dr. Zephy asks, what are your expectations for 4th edition? Okay. So in 2024,
oh my goodness,
what are our expectations for 4th edition? I will start and filibuster a little so you guys can think about your answers because I've thought about this. 1, I hope we simplify the game back down some. 2, I like at least the core experience. I'm okay with it, and then put complicated stuff into the battle packs. 2, I expect that we'll see a lot of the rules that are showing up in GHBs now show up in some version of either the 4th edition core rules or the battle packs associated to it. I think this is beta testing for all of that. And 3, I would expect and hope that we fix the entire enhancement system and stop it from being goofball stuff. And I just realized I've had this dumb red dinosaur up the whole time when I had a different picture for this. Anyway.
I was wondering, I was going to say it on air, but I was like, man, you could have really done some better background.
I have a piece of art specifically for this, and then forgot.
Fantastic.
Good
When you say fix the enhancement, what do you mean exactly by fixing?
Make it not a complicated nightmare with good, reasonable choices you can make that are contextually useful, since they're universal items, and would hence then appeal back to the same premise I talked about earlier.
I agree with all that completely, Vince. The only thing I would add is we can expect 3 more Lumina.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we've hit the crest of complexity and we're going to be going down, which is more or less what Vince just said. That I used the right word there. Maybe I didn't hit the height of complexity. It seems. I think you did a video at this at one point in terms of the evolution of Warhammer systems, just growing complexity and then a reset, etc.
Yep.
So yeah, I do hope that's what we get, and that it's not a massive change.
Sure. Okay. Cool. Dr. Zeffy had a second question, which is, what is the biggest disagreement you guys have regarding AOS and the hobby?
Well, Battle Lines Drawn is the greatest battle plan ever, so we can start there.
I think battle tactics is probably a line between the three of us. We all have a different take on it.
Yeah.
And its usefulness and its presence in the game. I think that's definitely the big one.
Yeah, that's a show.
Yeah, that's.
Is there another one? I'm trying to think if there's another one. That's the one that really stood out this year.
Not really. I mean, I think that's been the dividing line. Yeah, in our opinions. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody was very wrong about Base of Nurgle this year. I'm sure I wasn't wrong about anything.
Sure.
But
sure.
Yeah.
I'll
maybe
leave
that was last year.
Yeah. Ben asks, how often do you think of philosophy when hobbying for AOS? Whenever what I happen to be listening to on YouTube is philosophical related content is what it is. Because I try to put on a lot of, thought-provoking stuff as well. So I just got Adam Smith's America for Christmas, which is a book I'm very excited to read. It just came out recently. And so I was listening to the 3-part Freakonomics series around the history of Adam Smith and who he really was and all of that. And it was an absolutely fascinating series. So that kind of stuff. Sure.
It's not it touches upon philosophy. Vince and I have talked a lot about. Tom, I don't know if you listen to him. Ezra Klein's show. Now, Ezra is a liberal / progressive, but he does a really good job of having a diversity of guests and thought reflected on that show. It's not just a bunch of liberals talking to each other.
Sure. So. It's a great podcast. Okay. Let's see. Uncle Mike, who is your favorite GM you've played with? Well, I mean, I assume you're asking for RPGs, but the answer is probably the same for Tom and I. But it's our old friend Travis. Yeah, exactly. Who's maybe the greatest GM. Certainly the greatest GM I've ever played under. Probably one of the greatest in the history of Game Masters. He's singularly good at the thing. So yeah. Tyler, I don't think you play many RPGs, so probably don't have an answer.
As an aside, you should never underestimate the ability of the GM to empathically kind of read people and to read the table and understand how to adjust accordingly.
Yep. Let's see. Jason, where do you find folks to play the more ancillary GW RPGs? I'd like to try Soulbound, but it seems so niche. My normal RPG group, I have a weekly RPG group, and so I just brought it in and said, we're going to play this. That was it.
Yeah, when you're the GM, you can do that.
I mean, everybody was down for it. It's a very, if you've got people in your life who play D&D, then they're basically ready to play Soulbound. It's the same game. It just switches a D20 mechanic for a dice pool mechanic. But otherwise, it's the same game.
Yeah.
Okay. Any concern? Alessandro asks, any concerns the old world will siphon away AOS players? No.
Really? Yeah, I mean that it feels like that sorting already happened.
I mean, like this would be the question I would say. Like, is there a real fear that Horus Heresy pulls away 40k
Right.
players?
40K.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
the answer they clearly came to was no, right? As a
Well-
business, so
Well, and it's just it's drawing from a different pool of players. There are different
Mm-hmm.
expectations for what that thing is. I don't think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna let Tom answer this question. What do you think the associated animal for the Lumineth River Temple will be? E.g., like foxes, cows. You know, what is the animal going to be for the River Temple?
It's clear. Is this a real question?
Is it
Of
a real
course,
question?
it's the most dangerous animal in the animal kingdom, the hippopotamus.
Yep. Hippo all the way. If it's not a hippo, we riot. Okay.
Yeah, or hippos.
Shannon, when are we going to get Warhammer Weekly battle reports and/or army tactic rundowns? Well, I mean, we talk a lot about army tactics and stuff like that already. I'm sure we'll do those kind of deep dive shows. As far as battle reports,
Hey,
never.
I've been trying for years, folks. Like I talked to Vince, I was like, "Hey, I'll come up like regularly. We'll like do a bunch of games throughout a weekend and then edit them." And he's like, "Nope, nope."
So, Tom, I'm very likely to be following the same path where I'm just going to think about doing content and a YouTube channel for the next 10 years and never do one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the best bet. But I would love to hear if anybody has thoughts, ideas on what they would like to see that's not already being covered. Like I said, I think Miscast, I hope they continue it. I love that podcast. There are others. The Battle Report front is covered very well. This is a Warhammer Weekly show. I have to mention Season of War. There are a lot of other good ones. I mean, there's so many great Battle Report channels out there. We're flush with options. So on that side, we don't really need another Battle Report channel.
Sure,
But
there's so many people doing great stuff. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
hey, if Tom and Tyler want to start recording stuff, I'll host it. That's fine. There you go.
I think that there is content out there that we can expand on, Tyler, if you ever want to talk about that. But at the same time, that all takes work. And
No, that's other things to do.
Sure does. Okay. Let's see. What would it take to get any of you guys to play Gits? A good book.
What? Like I
Tom,
ordered
it's-
this box.
Spiders is the answer. More love for spiders. That's what will get Tom playing his army.
That would get me. But like I already have over 1,000 points of spiders painted, so that's not
Sure.
And I have a loon shrine painted and a bunch of squig units put together. So trust me, not a whole lot is the answer for me. A good book would certainly do it.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. We need to get Mitzi to record a battle report. I think that was the most fun I've ever seen anybody have playing Warhammer at Adepticon. I was watching him play Gits. I can't remember which Adepticon it was, but yeah, that man just embodied that army. It was just an absolutely gorgeous Gits army.
Yep. All right. Let's see. BRI says, I'm not sure about the name Age of Sigmar. If you had the ability to change the name of the game, what would you call it? No, I like it. I like AOS. I like Age of Sigmar. I think it's cool. I like it being named after the hero. I'm good with it. I don't have any need to change it to be anything else. So that's my take. But you guys, anything you would want to change the name to?
I hear what that person's saying. I don't have a name suggestion, but I think I'm resonating with that comment on the name and my early reaction to the name. It didn't grok that well for me early on, for what it's worth.
A lot in a name. That's what I'll say. And I think that Vince is correct in that I think Age of Sigmar actually captures a number of different elements of that. The kind of mythic character of it, the focus on the hero as opposed to the villains. I would have to think long and hard about it. So to be determined.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. BRI says, if you could kill off a Chaos God, who would it be and why? Nurgle, because he sucks. Next.
Oh, man. Rude. Nurgle's the
Easy.
greatest cat. Nurgle's the absolute greatest Chaos God.
Sure.
Hands down. Who would I kill? Who's the most uninteresting Chaos God?
It's corn. The answer is corn.
Really is corn. Yeah.
And it would raise like so many questions.
Mm.
Like when suddenly like the skull throne is, like is the remnants
Empty. Sure.
of the actual skull, right?
Uh,
And then what does that do in a world of Warhammer when rage and war lessen, right? Because like he's the manifestation of like wrath, right?
mm-hmm.
And so like what does that look like to the world if that god is defeated?
Sure.
And so like it would have really interesting consequences.
You guys want to see them kill a Chaos God?
No, I mean we put one in prison for most of the game so far for the past 8 years, and that was interesting enough. So like that's cool. We can do stuff with them. I think it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't have to be always ephemeral and beyond touch. Like putting Slanesh in prison was pretty cool. It's a cool thing.
Yeah, and likewise, I think that we should kill off some order gods.
Yeah, like we can. We talked about killing people in last week's show. Like we can ice some people.
Like
doesn't have to change anything about the way the game plays.
Right. I mean, technically, to be clear, Nagash is iced right now. Like he's not.
Yeah, sure. He's just like a weird spirit hovering over in Shaiish, right, reforming his body.
Incorporated, right? Like that happened. I could likewise. I would love to see Marathi suck it, like, or Marathi lose her identity in Kane, like for Kane to be truly reborn and Marathi to lose. Yeah. Like I think there's some interesting like storyline developments that can be done.
If you're watching, Marcella, I apologize on his behalf for that comment.
Sure. Keith Rogers, if a group of casual gamers who meet regularly want to play matched play but can't justify buying a GHB every 6 months, what's a good source of interesting battle plans? All of your past GHBs, answer number 1. Just keep using those battle plans. Number 2 is the 3 that are in the core book. They're perfectly fine. They're good battle plans, and you can do that. 4 is, or answer 3 or 4 or C or whatever number I'm on. Tyler's 4-pack of battle plans that he put out that are perfectly fun and viable. But yeah, community stuff like that. Anybody else have any other answers they want to give?
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Make a stable of like 11, or no, let's do, yeah, you can make a stable of like 12 battle plans that you determine by rolling 2 dice. Like the first table, the second to determine the battle plan or whatever. And so you have even odds on all of them. And pick your best 12, right, for the last 8 years.
Sure.
I think
and you're good to go. Patrick Callis, do you have any recommendations for playing an inefficient build of a force more effectively? I don't have all the models list building skills yet and keep getting stomped. Sure, I mean, I think a lot of the things we talked about earlier are the answer there, Patrick. But it really does come down to knowing the enemy forces. Like, because you need to make the most of what your stuff is, and the way you make the most of your stuff is by knowing exactly how, like, the capabilities of their army and where you can apply the pressure to get the most use out of it. That's it. The more you know about them, the better you can use your tools.
Yeah. Feel free to leave a comment, Patrick, on the video with your latest list. We can take a look at it and send any feedback, send any thoughts. I would be curious kind of where you are, what you're playing.
Okay. Very good. Derek, what's the worst AOS army to paint?
Zinch.
Really?
Well, Zinch is up there. A lot of Slanesh, especially the new mortal stuff, is up there. Slanesh or Zinch mortals.
Zinch, so Zinch mortals-ish,
Yeah.
Zangor, and Slanesh
mortals. Yeah. Honorable mention probably has to go to Skaven just for the sheer amount of it. Right? Like just the pile.
But the Bojangles on those 2 chaos factions are silly.
Yeah. LRL
somebody
also gets a
doesn't-
good honorable mention. Sorry,
Okay.
go ahead, Tyler.
I was going to say, somebody who doesn't know anything, I would have guessed Lumineth.
Yeah, also another one.
Lumineth were a super fast, easy paint for me. Super fast. Like
They have
like,
a lot of detail. That's the
They
trick.
do. They do. I think they can be, because of the way that the layering of the cloth and all that is, I think it can be done quickly. and can be done in it like nicely. It's really hard to do that. Like for me, like I airbrushed all the tones of the cloth, like I did a radiating color on it, and then went in and just painted the breastplate, painted some trim, and I was done functionally. Like you can't use a technique like that on Zinch because of the way that like the models are inside. Like a lot of the normal techniques that you would use, because of the layering and the depth differences, it's really difficult to get some of that activity on Zinch.
Yep.
That's right.
Flaming says, "What's one rule you'd lift from 40K and bring to AOS?" The answer, you mentioned it in your thing, and that's proper terrain rules. I'd simplify it down. There's too complicated, but it's just proper terrain rules. Like that has to win. They actually have a proper terrain keyword system. I wouldn't take their system exactly. I'd simplify it, but that.
Oh,
cool.
Like, it's that easy. I mean, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I can't think of. I mean, I've talked a little bit about. I've watched a ton of, in particular, tabletop tactics battle reports. I find that channel. I mean, they're so fun to watch. They've just started getting into Age of Sigmar as well, and they had a competitive series, a league that was great. I find the secondary objective system in that game compelling, but I do worry about it. Maybe I don't know. It seems like it might not be a great idea to try to do that in AOS. As I find it compelling as an alternative secondary system. I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah. Terrain
Right.
is the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Like boy, oh boy. Okay. Marcus, two-part question. Best advice not to covet thy neighbor's army faction, end it with 8 armies. And why is Everdusk the best season of war? So I mean, I'll answer the first part, which is, yeah, understand that the stuff that the other army, yes, it's just a grass is greener problem. You look at the one cool thing the army does and you're like, man, that's so cool. I want to do that thing, but you got to labor through everything else that they do as well and have all their restrictions, right? So that's the reality of the thing. I mean, just understand every army has strengths or weaknesses, I guess, and you don't feel the weaknesses until you're piloting the army. That's what I'll say. Anything else from you guys?
Nope.
I mean, I'm having to look up what Everdusk does, which is not a good starting point on the season of war. So, Everdusk, subtract 3 from the range when you pick friendly civilian units, place a power from the woodland depths. Modified hero. Okay, exploding 6s. Yeah. I haven't heard many people playing Everdusk. Please tell me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen that a whole lot.
I agree. I haven't seen people playing it either. Yeah. I don't think it is, sadly. I mean, maybe it could be at some point in the future. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. I see my wife was in here chatting. I noticed her earlier. Yes, my wife did get me a new apron made of like actual like rubber or something, with like a fabric backing for pouring resin and stuff like that. Like it's a lab level apron, right? Like it's something you'd actually wear in a lab handling dangerous chemicals. So there you go. Okay. Let's see. Boop 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 boop. Yeah, Mark.
I'm struggling. I've got a long list here. Just so you know, I'm ready for you if you need some more questions.
Oh, I've got so many. I'm just scrolling to them. Mark, yes, that was one of the pieces. Absolutely, that is correct. If you're still watching, I think Daryl, we talked about that. Our new armies that has never existed in AOS. Bug people, elementals, all that kind of stuff. We'll go back to it. Tyler, did you think of an answer?
Yeah, I said, while I love Nomad Feastmasters, I'd be curious to see what they would do with halflings, like a reinterpreted Age of Sigmar halflings. Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right, next question from Shannon. Does your spouse, significant other, family have a favorite thing about your hobby that they like to get in on or be a part of? No. It's like my significant other is Kathy's obviously perfectly supportive of my hobby and my place in it. She's extremely supportive. I'm blessed to have a wonderful partner, but no, she's not interested in it at all in any way, shape, or form of any part of the hobbies I do. So she has her own stuff. I have my own stuff.
Mine occasionally watches the stream, and it's actually, she loves watching me get excited about the things that I enjoy. And so like, for her, it's just watching how I light up and engage with the community, whether here, like she's joined me for an event, or just interact with folks at an event, and just watching me enjoy being part of the community. And that's and so that for her is something that she thoroughly enjoys.
Very cool.
Derek, your most memorable instance of NPE for yourself? Playing Tom in 2016 at NashCon. Easy money. Get negative $1 million to hit. Do no damage. Go home. I went and got a sandwich. That's it. That's the end of it. It's the worst game I've ever played. It's horrible.
Like Tyler that weekend too.
Yeah.
We had an amazing game.
Yeah, and Tyler beat me.
Did. Thank you for
Tyler's a better player than me, as we statistically proved at DashCon this year.
Sure. Oh, God bless him, but playing Lumineth is just a terrible experience. Any player that they could be the nicest people in the world. That's a rough army to play. Techless Sentinels doing their nonsense. Not the most fun in the world. Yeah, so I'll just say Lumineth. If that's Derek's center, he plays Lumineth. You're a bad person, Derek. Despite being one of the nicest guys in the community, you need to stop playing that army. Actually, it's probably fine now. It's much better now.
Oh, this is a fun one. Okay, Herald of Manway. Hypothetical question: how many points of models would you need to beat a player who knew the rules but had almost never played the game? Assume they have 2,000. So, like, how many extra points do you compensate for skill differentials with? Is effectively the question here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna say that I think if you take, like, if I played a really high skill player, somebody who's like truly the best in the country, and I had 3,000 points and they had 2,000, I'm not sure I'd win. With 1,000 extra points. Like, I think it's more than that is what I would say.
But are they asking for our skill differential or so, like, how much better could we beat somebody, or how much?
Sure, like, what could I go down to beat low skill people? Is that what you're asking?
That's what
I think that's what the question was. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, we'll flip it the other way around. I think we all think we could do it on 1,500, right? That wouldn't be an issue.
I have evidence of doing it on 1,500.
Sure.
When I lost Marathi turn 1 to the Nail of Nurgle, and who did nothing, and then proceeded to then table them by 3. And so that was me playing functionally my army with 1,500. So I've done it with 1,500, basically taking Marathi off the table. I don't know if I could ever do more than that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 1,200 if we're talking about like a just sort of no skill player who doesn't know your army. Like, sure, probably it depends here.
And you're playing something like KO, Warp Lightning Vortex, where you can like drop, immobilize them, and just move around and pick them apart. You might be able to get away with 1,200. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. 1,000 feels a little too low in my mind.
Yeah, 1,000 feels too low, but like somewhere between 12 and 1,500 is the answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Red Wizard. What's our dream AOS video game? I mean, is it just bringing back Warhammer Age of Reckoning? Is that just it? But like finishing like their original vision of Warhammer Age of Reckoning implemented fully? Is that it? Is it just that?
For me, it is. Like,
in the Mortal Realms?
I love the war. I love the war.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'd love to see I don't know if you guys seen the trailer for Space Marine 2. Played the original Space Marine. I mean, it looks amazing. So yeah, I would love to see something like that.
Okay.
Or AOS. Just check out the trailer, Space Marine 2, and imagine that in Age of Sigmar.
Viradu says, I'm new to AOS and just got Gloomspite models because I liked how they look. What are some general tips you'd give for someone like me? Wait about a month and then we'll go from there because you got a new book coming. You have bought at the perfect time. You are in at the perfect time, buddy.
Just paint right now. That's all you need to focus on. But put stuff together and paint, and then you can reevaluate when the new book drops and customize. Done.
Yep.
But I say all that to say you can probably trust on like doing squig-ish things are probably good.
Sure.
Like that's fairly like I can't imagine the stocks on all your squigs are going to go down.
Okay, Ian says, what battle scroll would you retire from the game? He said, and why is it Gotrek? But I wouldn't get rid of Gotrek. I think he's fine. What's one battle scroll you would retire?
You mean
from
War
the game?
Scroll? War
Yeah.
Scroll?
Yeah.
Okay, you said Battle Scroll.
He said battle scroll, but I think he meant
Oh, he said
War Scroll.
okay. War Scroll. Okay, gotcha.
I was reading the question directly.
It's clearly the Incarnate, right?
100% the Incarnate's top pick, but that's slam dunkathon. Like, yeah, we retire the Incarnate.
Let's just put Shalaxi out of his, her, its misery. Shalaxi Hellbane.
Sure. Yeah, that War Scroll could do, like, if as long as we're remaking it at some point, or just putting it in the ash bin of history, and that's fine too.
Let's start over. Yeah,
That's fine.
just retire that and move on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think most War Scrolls can be fixed and are interesting. Like, there's an interesting core there around the model. So I other than the Incarnate, I don't know if I'd bin any of them. So, yeah. Okay. Josh A. How do you guys feel about the regular schedule of leaks that have been happening in the last year, a couple of years, all the way back to 3rd edition rules leaking? Is this intentional to some extent? Josh, it is most definitely not intentional. I can tell you that with 1,000% certainty. It is not intentional. It is not part of their strategy. I was in a building when I watched one of my best friends get escorted out of the building and sent home because he accidentally took a picture of a tank that looked exactly like another tank that was literally on the shelf at the place and available to the public. It is not intentional. How do I feel about it? I mean, whatever. It is what it is. It's the nature of things. Like, things are going to leak, you know.
Is it the nature
I don't
of things
think,
though?
Sure. Like
they
it's
seem to be
information you tell
most-
enough people. Do you know how to keep a secret between two people, Tyler?
Or don't tell them.
No, kill one of those people.
Kill one of those people. Okay, fair enough. But I mean, what I'm saying is, to what degree I'm less familiar with other nerd hobbies. Also, like Magic. To what degree does this happen in Magic: The Gathering or other examples? Like, I would guess this is
Time in Magic.
okay.
All the time.
This is not an exception to the general rule of the level of leaks in
No.
these kinds of hobbies.
It's like-
Okay, all right.
Like none of the other companies really like they like with Magic, they're always on a release cycle, for example, and so they're like every week, like as soon as you get done hyping a set, this set releases 2 days later. The hype train starts for the next set, and
Right.
spoilers are already dropping for the next stuff. Now,
Gotcha.
occasionally you'll get stuff slip out, right?
Mm.
And they just don't acknowledge those things until the leak cycle comes around. Like they just ignore it until they get to those, until they get to that hype cycle, and that'll just be integrated in. So I mean, I don't know.
I feel anecdotally like when I think about prior years, Daughters of Cain especially stands out. That extraordinary trailer they have with Daughters. I mean, the hype level was maybe never higher in the
Sure.
7 years of AOS around Daughters of Cain. And then thinking about Slaves of Darkness with this extraordinarily just beautiful model range, so much of it leaked prior. It's like we missed out on something meaningful there around them that we could have had a little bit more of.
Sure.
It's
I don't
just a
want it to
feeling.
happen. I don't think like I especially with you have people who are trusted to like you've been whatever. People shouldn't do that stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Sure.
Okay. Like you shouldn't violate agreements you make in life. That's just a good general maxim, not to be too Kantian about the whole thing, but you know, it is a generally good rule. All right. Jig guy. Hey Vince, quick random question, but what did you major in college? Philosophy. It's the way to go. There you go. Tom,
And
your
jump-
original major was math, right? And then you went into
All science, yeah.
yeah. There you go. All right.
Theoretical mathematics, basically.
Sure.
I left college to go work on the Singularity, so that was my gig.
There it is. Yes, absolutely. Tyler's interesting life story could be a whole like series of multi-seasons podcast. Like, yeah, absolutely.
We'll move on. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let's see. Okay. By the way, a bunch of people said the animal instead of a hippo should be an otter. And oh boy, I'm super on team otter now. I just want to say that. Like otter is so much better than hippo. Like otters are adorable. it should be otters.
Even with the like,
what's that?
imagine painting those little hippo ears.
Yeah, I mean, look, hippos are cute. I'm not against it either. I'm just saying, like, otters are amazing. So there you go. I'm never against otters. All right, we're gonna start wrapping this up soon, boys. We've been going for a while, but okay.
23 minutes to go. 3 hours and 1 minute. Let's do it.
Is that what the goal is? Okay.
That's the goal.
All right, simple enough. Richard Venti, who helped usher you in and lead you into the depths of this hobby? What was your first army? And yeah, so there you go. So let's all do that one because that's a good question. So Tyler starts off. Who brought you into the hobby and what was your first army?
Oh, I guess. I mean, I did. There wasn't. Yeah, I had. How did I? I can't remember how I got hooked on toy soldiers originally. I probably saw it somewhere. I was probably just at a hobby store, right? Saw it, thought it looked cool, and took off from there. Yeah, I think I bought a High Elf Dragon pewter kit, Marauder miniatures. I've got in my head. Was this ringing any bells, or guys?
Yeah,
Is this
sure.
ringing any bells? That
Yeah.
old red dragon with the little dude on top with his lance, like an early version of Prince Emmerich, but not Emmerich. Yeah, way back when. So, High Elves, of course.
Nice. Tom?
Into Warhammer proper, it was Vince. We were all playing Mordheim. Like, he was playing Mordheim locally, and I was playing Mordheim locally with friends. And I had questions about painting. And he's like, yeah, and kind of answered some of those questions. And then he's like, hey, so we've started playing Warhammer, like, army stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, no thanks. And I was like, I don't know. Maybe I could. And then I was like, kind of watching some of the stuff happening. And then the end times dropped. And I was like, okay, I could do High Elves. Let's do this.
Yes.
So
Very nice.
it's Vince's fault.
Yes, for myself, it was my old buddy Curtis who brought me in and had me play a game of Warhammer on like a floor in our living room when I was in college in the mid 90s, and that was pretty much it. My first army was Empire, but that was just a sort of hodgepodge collection of old Battle Masters figs and stuff like that. My first real army that I collected that was just like donated to me, just like random stuff people gave me. But my actual first army was Skaven, as I've said many times. So I picked that up very, very shortly afterward. So there you go. Okay. Let's see. Next up. We answered the most fun army you've ever painted. Is the Iron Jaws getting started to start collecting a good buy? What's in the Iron Jaws start collecting? Somebody look that up. I don't remember.
War Chanter, I believe. Well, there's Weird Knob Shaman. There's 3 pigs. Not that much. There's some number of Ardboys. And that might be it. You're mainly getting it for the pigs. But price-wise, I don't think there's a big difference between just buying pigs themselves versus buying the whole start collecting. Get the other stuff. Do you got it pulled up?
Yeah, so it is
War Chanter.
it is a War Chanter, 3 pigs, and 10 Ardboys.
Boys, yeah.
It used to be a weird number. I could see buying 2 of those boxes.
2's the number.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's
I
a
mean,
good number.
no unit in Iron Jaws is bad, so hence, if it contains the units and it's at any part of a discount, then it's good.
Yeah,
Easy.
like in general, you're going to use 6 pigs. You're going to use 1 to 2 War Chanters.
War Chanters, yeah.
And then you might use 20 Ardboys.
Yeah, sure. They can be a perfectly fine little animal. Absolutely. Okay.
They're the fair 4+ rally in this game right now.
Yep.
Boys. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Frog says, should we go back to the fantasy way of buying artifacts with points and possibly other enhancements? No, please God, no. What part of everything you've seen with the points and the balance over the last 8 years of Age of Sigmar has led you to the conclusion that this system is working so well, let's expand it? No, definitely not. When everything is worth 0, you have to design it within a tight range. Okay? And that is helpful. When suddenly you can slap any amount of points on anything, it gets ridiculous. and it gets to weird inconsistencies where it's like, this is the always take at 25 points, and this thing becomes automatic even though it's 200. You just get to these bad inclusions that just screw up the rest of the thing. Make points for the models I put on the table. The other things are the other things. I get them. They're fun. Cool. They should be worth effectively 0. Done. There's a lot of negative externalities with making these things cost points. A lot. And I have seen nothing that proves to me that points have been a great balancing or salvation mechanism in the regular troops.
Isn't this a disagreement you had with a terrorist at one point?
It was, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just move on. Okay.
Correct. Okay. Let's see. Where do you draw the line on sticking with an army? This is from Derek. And giving it up if you're not having fun with it, losing hard. Like, when do you quit? That's the question. Well, is this a fully painted army? Because then you never quit. You put it on the shelf, and it becomes a shelf army until the next book or the next edition or the next whatever. There's no reason you just stop playing it for a little while. Like, that's fine. Otherwise, the answer is simple. When you're not having fun, quit often. The most successful people in life quit all the time. Because they figured out and tried a bunch of things they weren't good at and didn't like and didn't enjoy, and they quit. And then they kept going until they found a thing they did enjoy and were good at and had the passion to take to a high level, and then followed that passion. Quit early, quit often. That's what I say. Anything else? What do you think, gentlemen?
Seems pretty good.
Okay. All right. Run. What do you guys think of the possibility of Chaos Dwarves coming back to AOS is? Like, if they do, like, what do we think? Is that going to happen?
Yeah.
And how would they be
happening.
changed? Yes, it's happening. And probably in 4th edition or something, I think is what I'd say.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And they'll be very different. I mean, to a point.
I enjoyed Chaos Dwarves in their prior incarnation. Both of them in the old world Big Hat and then also the Forge world. And I'm interested to see what space they want to invent and play in next.
Yep. Christopher, are you guys excited for Seraphon or Cities of Sigmar this year? Yeah, I'm excited for both. I'm keen to see what they do. Seraphon is a bad book right now, and it'll be good to have a new crack at that apple. I hope we get a good book. And the Cities redesign looks amazing, so I can't wait to see what the studio comes up with. I think it'll be really cool looking.
I can't wait for Cities.
Sure. Anything else? Tyler, any other thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, jokes aside, I am excited for Seraphon players.
Yeah.
And even if they run a lot of skinks, that's fine.
Okay. Big chunk of... Yeah, both Tom and I are very familiar with Return of Reckoning. And by the way, full credit to those people who did finish a lot of... Not only did they restart it, but they actually finished a lot of the additional content, but it's just not the same. You know, I was driving down the street and I saw a Deadhead sticker on a Cadillac and I said, don't look back. You can never look back. I mean, it's... Nostalgia is the poison of enjoying the present. Okay. Let's see. State of Kevin. Question. This is a hypothetical. 4th edition. There's no universal enhancements, but all wizards know all their listed keyword spell lore and universals cycled by the and universals are just in the GHB. And universal cycled by GHB. Any thoughts? Hate it. I don't want every wizard I have to manage 8 spells or 9 spells. It's too much. It's too much. I hate when wizards have like 2 spells.
A nightmare of slowing the game down.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Wake Phillips, if we did get one more model, refresh or new for the Gits book next year or for Beast of Chaos, what would you want that one new thing to be? So in the imaginary world where we're going to get more than one model, I guess actually we already know Gits are getting 2 or something, right? But whatever, I don't know. Because they get the Wolf Riders and something else. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
They get the general with a squid guy, like
Yeah,
squid prodder. Yeah.
Okay. So but what else would we want? Tom, you got any thoughts what you'd want for either of those armies?
More spiders. Just all those spiders.
Sure. Easy answer, like a cool spider guy.
Here you go. Let's do this. I want new base spiders. I want a new gargantuan, like a boss unit with larger spiders, like a 3-pack of larger spiders. I want more Arachnaroks, not just with the like the Howdah Shrine, all that, but I want like a big boss on Arachnarok. I want swappable legs, so you have different breeds of spider reflected in the Arachnarok. You want me to keep going? I can keep going.
No, it's great. Tyler, what do you got?
Nah, yeah, spiders. That about covers it. I mean, what else would be interesting with this army? I don't know the army very well. Huh?
A bunch of foot forest goblins. I love the forest
Okay.
on that are on the Howdah. Like so much that I gathered 20 of the little archers, and I have a Shuda unit of 20 forest goblins because I love those models. Give me units of those guys.
Got it. Give us a spiritual successor, 2023 version of Grom the Paunch. With Snarl Fangs carrying the chariot, just a badass chariot. You can make it different options. You can have a shaman version, but I want to Grom the Paunch back.
Beautiful. Love it. I don't have an answer for Gits. I think your answers are all good. I'll answer for Beasts, which is I want a like Gorgon war platform. So I want like a Gorgon thing with a big sort of like Howdah situation on his back. And I want a bunch of like Ungor raiders and stuff like that up there with sticks and bows and a big giant ballista that they fire off of his back. I think that would be fun. Just this giant Gorgon platform. Okay. What's a big personal lesson that has helped you beyond the table that you have learned from gaming? Oh my God, so much. I mean, half of my life is based on my gaming of various and sundry types and everything I've learned. But I'll give you a simple answer for myself. And that is that humans are much more alike than they are different, because I've played games across from people of different everything you can imagine, whatever identifying quality you can imagine. I've played games across the table from those people, and we've had a great time because we have a unifying interest, and there's so much more alike and things that we all enjoy together than the things that separate us. How about that?
That's good.
Fame is an illusion.
Sure. A good answer. You're still just a normal person. Yes.
Everybody still just a normal person.
Absolutely.
Tyler, what about you?
Key lesson that can be applied elsewhere in life. Everyone has a bad day. Most everyone has a bad day. So it's nobody's perfect. Everyone is capable of experiencing salt at the table, and yeah. So I think to have some patience with that. I don't know. Let me think a little bit about that. I want to give a better answer. Let me think about that.
Okay. Very good. Let's see. If you could replace old Warhammer models with AOSified versions of them, would you? And he gives an example. This is Howard. He says, think turning witch elf Sisters of Slaughter into snake, bat, whatever ladies. Some, not all, but yes, I would replace some of them because I think AOSified things are cool. Again, I think it's important to have some continuity there. There's no reason to sort of like churn stuff that's perfectly viable. I'm like, witch elves are great. I don't really see a need to change them, but like adding the snake bat ladies was also a cool addition. Like you don't need to change clan rats are clan rats, but I would AOSify the heck out of like war machines and the monsters they make and stuff like that in the Skaven range and so on and so forth, right? So I think it's about some amount of continuity and then some amount of getting jiggy with it, I suppose.
Sisters of Sigmar and Witch Hunters.
Sure.
What was the question? I was thinking about the prior one.
If you could replace old Warhammer models with AOSified versions of them, would you? Or what ones would you do?
Yeah, you guys had good answers. Yeah, on that front. Not sure what else would do. Old models. Yeah, that's pretty good. Going back to the last question, I think being at times during the hobby, I haven't been honest with myself about the lack of balance. With like just trying to maintain a space of being honest about whether you have your priorities in the right place.
Sure. No, that's fair. That's good. Pezler, at which point does it stop being a hobby and start becoming a lifestyle? right now. Why? Anytime you want, baby. Anytime you want. That's the answer. You can live that life anytime. Okay. Let's see. What Mordtime says? What questions or what models from AOS make you want to build a Mordheim warband? I mean, like a lot of them, because a lot of them are fine. But go ahead, Tom.
All of the Gets Underworlds little mini units.
Yeah.
I dare you to go look at the old Gets warband or the new one, and not look at that and go, "Damn it! I want to build a Underworlds war, or I want to build a Mordheim warband."
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's functionally what those things are, right? Like those are the beginnings of a Mordheim warband,
Right.
and they all have super distinct character and wonderful sculpts and stuff like that.
They're getting so good, yeah, with these warbands. Like definitely real progression in what they're putting out with them. I don't know what warband it is. There's the Witch Hunter type warband that came out recently. That's just phenomenal. Hexbane's Hunters is in my head. I don't know if that's it. Yeah.
Love it. Okay. Let's see. Seamus says, dream model that you think will never happen. I think anything's possible in this world, so I don't know that I believe any model couldn't happen. Like, the sculptors are very creative. I literally think that anything we could imagine for this would be cool. But if I had to pick something truly outrageous, like a Zonbeck or something, like a massive size aircraft carrier for KO.
Yeah, it's a good one. I would do a floating vampire ship.
Oh, sure. There you go. Okay. Tyler?
Oh, a new version of Teclis that looks like the 3D designed and printed version that's been going around for a little while now, with apologies to the designer of the original Teclis. I don't know. Yeah, that one is the one that somebody put together is just phenomenal. It's basically the artwork, that amazing piece of art. Have you guys seen that, by the way, Tom?
Yep.
The Teclis?
They have been in the group that helped commission that.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
There's a mini crowd fund that went around to commission that artist to do that, and I may have been in that group.
There you go. Camp K, I want to start airbrushing. I have a large compressor I use for my tires. Is that too large if I pick up a cheap airbrush to use? Yeah, probably. I mean, you can, but it's probably too big. As long as it can go down to like 18 to 20 psi, it can work. But it's worth it to just pick up a small tanked compressor for like $100. And it'll last you for, hopefully, knock on wood, years, and you're good to go. Okay. George, we already kind of tackled that a little bit, because he said if you could design AOS 4, 4th edition, what are the 3 biggest changes you'd make? We tackled some of that already. Like, we talked about the complexity split, things like that. Anything else you want to add, Tyler? Because you said
I
you were
was saying, it might. I mean, yeah, it would be a good. That would be a good show topic to really dive in and think about that in more detail. I mean, we had a lot of changes, I feel, with 3.0 from 2.0, right? Like a number of additional layers that they put in place. And yeah, I mean, we're running long already, so I'll wait. But I'd love to do a show on that where we really try to give that some thought.
Okay.
Particularly with this notion of scaling down complexity. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Waffles Enjoyer, what are your favorite paints in your rotation right now? I use there are 4 or 5 different brands of paints literally over here right next to me that I'm using on these models. AK 3rd Gen, Chimera, Pro Acryl, Warcolors 88, Vallejo. Like, I use all of them. So I mean, it's just, I don't have specific brand. I have specific paints I like. So there you go. And no issue, George. Hey, we're happy you're here, buddy. Okay. Tyler, this one I'm totally throwing to you. But Tom, I want your thoughts too. I'm gonna stick out of this one. Rodrigo says, what do you think could be improved in the competitive scene in order to make tournaments more enjoyable to watch? I like that particular question. To watch.
To watch. Gosh. Yeah. Huh? Say Tom?
What could be changed in the competitive scene to make games more enjoyable to watch? I like that, because it's not how do you improve the competitive scene, blah, 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 right? But no. What would make it more interesting to watch?
This maybe something to do with the teams format would be more interesting than. I mean, you can have a competitive teams format, obviously. AOS Worlds, etc. I would think there could be some interesting stuff you could do there. One-on-one, I'll have to think about that more. I don't know. I personally find it fairly boring to watch in person, but I enjoy watching battle reports, at least some battle reports. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any initial thoughts?
Yeah, I would have sidebars pop up of war scrolls and rules as as commentators are talking.
Sure, but that's not a change to the rules. Like, what would you change in the rules to make it better to watch? I have a simple answer, which is you'd really need to go through the game and clean out fiddly bits like piling in and stuff like that, where it's just like, because that is a giant waste of time that is super boring.
Yeah, I've always wondered what it would be like to play mostly this engine remaining intact, but switching to alternate activations consistently. I know that the Middle Earth battle strategy game, whatever it's called, has alternate activations a lot more than AOS. I'm not sure what your guys' opinions are on that, but I would guess that would increase the interactivity, the interest of it.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about watching, you got to talk about what creates visual interest, and the stuff that creates visual interest is when people do boring things, people lose interest. That's it. It's that, and piling in is boring. Getting rid of a lot of rerolls was a thing that needed to happen because that's really boring. Like just watching people roll dice and then reroll dice and then pick out dice is like the slow, tedious part of the game.
Yeah, like there's some interface issue stuff that could be neat if some of that could be automated, right? So for example, like if the dice rolling were happening digitally, which I know is a big sacred counter, right? Where it would pop up and auto collate hits and misses.
Sure.
Right. On the screen so that you could that would be running on a sidebar, right? Where would speed up the game and all that. I think that would be a positive experience for watching.
Yep.
Right. And then you could speed up re-rolls with that as well. Just automate all your re-rolls on. But again, that all requires tons of programming and pre-prep and stuff like that. And I don't know that we're anywhere near that.
Yeah. Christopher Garcia, is Cities of Sigmar a lock for 2023? And what models and paint schemes would you want? I mean, yes, it is. We know because they announced the article that says it's coming this year. So, yep, we know it is happening. What models and paint schemes? I mean, a bunch of stuff bust open the cities. I want to see the Dawnbringer Crusades. I want to see the cool stuff we mentioned, Witch Hunters and Sisters of Sigmar and all this other stuff. I'd love to see everything like that. I want to see the Fanatics. I want to see the mercenaries they hire. I want to see the soldiers. I want to see the artillery and weapons they bring to bear. All of it. And I want to see schemes for the individual cities. What do they look like? That's it.
I loved your guys' idea that you discussed of, I think, Tom, maybe you mentioned it, having the kits have swappable head options, Warden, elves, humans. Yep. Love that.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, look at that. We did it. We got there. All the questions answered. Thank you, everybody. Hey, if you've got more questions we didn't answer, guess what you can do? You can drop those down in the comments of the video. Happy to answer those afterward, as always. Hit like if you didn't already. This was a very fun episode. I hope we answered all of your various and sundry questions. Subscribe. The journey to 100,000 continues. We're getting there. But as always, thank everybody so much for watching. I'm sorry I didn't switch the picture. that I purposely made this little piece of art and then forgot. Got so into answering the questions I wasn't even looking at my own screen where I'm watching. But thank you all so much for a wonderful year. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tyler, for being amazing co-hosts this year.
Are you going to the t-shirt?
No, because it's not the end of the year yet. There's still 2 days. I'm going to do it in next week's show.
Don't worry. Team Tom's going to win. It's okay.
No, I'm just legitimately curious.
It will be next week's show. Next week's show, I will tell you the winner of the Team Tom versus Team Tyler.
You can go buy your t-shirt the next
Oh, Lord.
That's right. As always, don't forget if you want to support the channel, there's a Patreon down below focused on your hobby and feedback. As Tom mentioned, there is a merch store down there as well. But I do want to say thank you all so much to all of you who've watched this year. Well, any amount of the shows, we thank you so much. Who've left comments, who've done all those things. It really is so deeply and endlessly appreciated. I am grateful and blessed every day to be able to do this with these two amazing individuals and to have all of you to share this experience with you. So thank you so much. Here's to the end of 2022, the beginning of 2023. Happy New Year, everyone. Let's look forward to what I hope will be the greatest year of AOS in all of AOS history. 2023. I'm excited about it, and I hope you are too. As always, we'll see you next